Remote or talk through that or?
Yeah, exactly. Basically just letting know that
Oh, yeah.
we have one information.
Yeah, we're just noting that Commissioner Venkataraman will participate in the meeting via video conference from the site listed on the meeting agenda. Meeting agenda will be posted at the video conference site, which is accessible to the public. Anyone wishing to address the commission from the video conference site will be provided with an opportunity to do so. So there we go. Thank you, Suresh, for joining remotely. Is there anybody with you?
No, there's nobody else here with me in the room.
Yeah, we'll see. We can call the meeting to order. For this month's meeting. Thanks everybody for being here. Let's establish that we have quorum here. We do a roll call.
All right, Commissioner Banerjee, not here. Commissioner Venkataraman,
Here?
Commissioner Lee,
Here.
Vice Chair Nika,
Here.
Commissioner Hatch,
Here.
Commissioner Schneidner,
Here.
Chair Helmholtz.
Here.
You do have form.
All right, wonderful. Let's do the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks. First things first, do we have any public comments for items not on the agenda? I didn't see anything come in.
No.
Yeah, okay. Good. Great. Okay, so with no further ado, we've got an awesome informational item here tonight. We've got Ben here with the County Active Transportation Plan. Thank you so much for being here. If you're ready, we'd love to hear your presentation for tonight.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Ben Agemiu. I'm from the Roads and Airports Department. I'm a principal transportation planner there. And let me share my screen so that I have a presentation here for you all. The county, I'm not able to
Yeah, panelists, so. Let me make you a co-host. Maybe I'll make you a co-host on that. Maybe that will work.
Okay. 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 So I was saying we were here roughly 2 years ago to give an overview of the status of the plan where it was at that time. Since then, we've progressed to the adoption of the plan. So basically, currently we're trying to go through the different commissions internally into our department and having them place the plan so that we can adopt it and start the work on the plan. But nonetheless, we've already started implementing portion of the plans, and I will get into that later on. And that's the footing feasibility study. So even if we did not adopt the plan yet, we've already started working on the plan. So with that, I have a brief presentation, and I wanted to give an overview from the start so that everybody was from the get-go on the same page, so that people who were not here before can consume the work that was done prior to the adoption. So with that, the agenda for tonight, we'll go through some project overview and the community engagement that we've done, some vision and goals of the plan, some technical needs assessments that we've done as part of the project, but I'm not going to delve into the technical aspect, but we're going to show what kind of studies that we've done, and then go over the infrastructure improvement that were proposed, and then how those projects were prioritized. And then there's a second community feedback result that we've collected as part of the public notice in publishing the plan to the public so that they can provide us comments. So, and then I'll talk about what we've done with those comments once the public has given them. And then I will talk about some next steps, and then we'll open it for Q&A. With that, I wanted to give you a geographical bearing of where this project is located at. So I don't know if you can see the map clearly, but the yellow shaded area is what the unincorporated county or the county roads and airports maintains. And all of the roads that are colored here are the roads that we maintain, which are roughly more than 600 miles. And what is different, it's that the expressways, which are the urban roadway systems that we have in the county, are under the unincorporated jurisdiction. So even if they run through the cities, they are only maintained and operated by the county. So this plan doesn't talk about what happens in the cities networks, but in the unincorporated area. Nonetheless, the interaction between the cities, the facilities happens, and that has been coordinated with the cities. So to give you a project timeline, I think we were here during the phase 2, 2 years ago. But before then, there was a phase 1 where we did an existing condition and network analysis. Then we did some prioritization and recommendations of the projects. And now we're at the phase 3, the final plan, and we're at the adoption stage where we are at the end of the timeline. And within the timeline, there was some public outreach that we've done as part of the communication of the plan, and also with community stakeholders, and also with city stakeholders, and as well as community-based organizations. And community-based organizations are some local community organizations that are more in tune with what happens within those communities and within their communities, and they know more about what the community needs are. So we kind of have that bottom-up approach so that we can get informed well on what the needs are. With that, the outreach that we've done are multiple. This plan has been going on for a couple of years now, and we've done a round of presentations and other pop-up events. And to go in order, there was a technical advisory group that was formed between the cities, the VTA, and VTA is the Valley Transportation Authority, which is the Transit and Congestion Management Agency. And we were working with this technical advisory group so that to better inform the plan. And then we set up a project website where there was an interactive map where everybody, the first phase of feedback was collected from the community. We had roughly 500 plus comments on that webpage. And then we did in-person pop-up events at Viva Calle, Morgan Hill Friday Night Music, at the Gilroy Farmer Market, and some as a special event where it's called the Gilroy Art Walk. And we collected feedback, and the way we've done it was the picture on the right side that we have. We did some green, yellow, red dot choice of infrastructure polling. So what kind of infrastructure would you be willing to see if it would be implemented? So that kind of exercise were done. And as part of that feedback, one of the important thing that we got was separation in safety. So that's, again, will feed into the next step. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the community-based organizations from the 5 supervisor districts, and the names are there. We did some presentation to the cities in June of last year. We did provide a draft plan to the cities to comment on it and provide some feedback. We did go to some city BPAC and complete streets or commissions such as this one. And we were here, this is our second time coming here. We did the presentation to the county BPAC which Commissioner Banerjee sits on as a chair. And we did went to our roads commission, which are the ones that kind of advise our board of supervisors. And there is also another commission we call housing, land use, environment, and transportation, which is again advising the board of supervisors. So the chain structure is that VTA BPAC advises roads commission advises Hewlett, and Hewlett the board of supervisors. So that to give you kind of the hierarchy. And then we published the draft plan to the public for 1 month and 2 weeks. Again, we collected over 200 single unique entry comments. We went to the San Martin Planning Advisory Committee, which is another commission to the county, but set up in the southern portion of the county. So for better representation there also. And most of the improvements are also done in the southern portion of the county. And then this again today we're here. So what have we heard by going all of those places? We heard safety, improved access to community destinations, connectivity. Again, connectivity means those interactions between unincorporated jurisdictions and the cities. So kind of there's the continuous facilities and some implementation strategies and maintenance. But the major outcome of that was that people wanted to be safer on the so the expressways are safe and useful for the road automotive users, but a little bit dangerous for bicyclists. So just to give you the sense. With that, we did a crafting of some vision and goals. I'm not going to go with all of it, but the vision of this plan is to enhance mobility and safety, to make it a well-connected and equitable network, to have a collaborative process, and give a quality of life to the users. And we set out to have and meet some goals, and one of those are equity and social justice, basically to invest in historically underinvested areas of the county, health and well-being and sustainability, connectivity, as I mentioned, public safety and comfort, especially comfort on the expressways, and this kind of interaction, which is collaboration and community partnership. So in order to guide us with the analysis of what's going on currently in the real world, we did some collision analysis on the and kind of identifying the hotspots where crashes happen and case size killed or severely injured. And we noticed that with the improvements of the facilities that we were doing at that time and still doing today, trends were still going down. Crashes and collisions were kind of going down due to the not the overall improvements, but some of the improvement that we were doing, such as accommodating bicyclists, not designating them, but accommodating them, and also some kind of curb radius reductions, and also sidewalk installations. Trends were going down, but nothing is completely safe. So we did have some collision through for the 5 years that we collected, and we had 55 that resulted in severe injuries. We had 25 fatal collisions over a 5 years period, and most of the pie charts shows the what kind of accident or crash or collision they were, you know, the type of injuries that they were sustained. This analysis gave us the indication that we already knew, which was that the expressways were more prone to be the high injury networks. But this means that design-wise for the automotive, the expressways are operating correctly. The crashes is not because the locations on the expressways are not safe, but it's because this plan, which this plan is trying to tackle, which is accommodating bicyclists. So the accidents which are with pedestrians and bicyclists, that's what's not safer here. So that's what we're trying to address. So with that, coupled with the collision data, the feedback from the community, we also did some technical analysis. We call bicycle level of traffic stress and pedestrian level of the traffic stress. Basically, in common terms, that means the level of comfort for a rider to be using that facility. So how easy is to use that? How comfortable it is to use that facility? We did some network connectivity analysis, 3 potentials, how far a facility or a rider is willing to go, the existence of sidewalks, because currently in the expressways are not fully provided with the sidewalks on both sides, and some intersection level analysis. With all of this information that we gathered, the consultant and the team came up with infrastructure recommendations, which based their most important decision on this chart. So this is the most important outcome of the plan, which is with the chart here shows the higher the posted speed limit is on a facility, and the higher the average daily traffic volume is on a facility, the facility that accommodates bicyclists and pedestrians should be as far and separated as possible from the automotives. So with that, coupled with the technical analysis that we've done, and also the community feedback, we decided that the best route would be to go with a class 1 or a shared use path on all the expressways, and some other facilities based on feasibility on the rural roads. We'll get to that later. And here are the, like, to just give a visual to what we mean by the different classes. And as you can see, the first class on the top left, it's the class 1 shared use path, which is separated completely from a facility. And then as on a case-by-case basis, the different level of facilities are recommended. We also have some pedestrian facility toolbox that we've recommended, such as advanced stop markings, sidewalks, curb ramps. And one thing that I wanted to show you, we also kind of thought technology would help in alleviating the problems. And this is something we already do. So the pedestrian crosswalk timing sensors, which allow for pedestrians to cross the road if the signal changes to green on the other side. The pedestrian will get an allowance of time to finish crossing the road. So this is something we do currently, but we want to expand on it and be more available on every intersections. And then some other engineering designs that can be that we are currently doing, but we want to do more of. So with that, one thing that most of those who know the county well know that we have something called the bicycle accommodation guideline, which is not something that was done to fully design the infrastructure to have bicyclists on the facility, but it was done as part of accommodating them. So during the 2003 era, there were not complete guidances from the state or the federal level that gave definitive indication in implementation of bicycle facilities. So the county took it on its own to develop a tailored document, but we felt like that document didn't address the current newly established guidelines and state and federal level guidelines that are available. So with that, we at first wanted to retire that document, but with broad community concern and demand, we changed our idea and accommodated that these guidance could be used as an interim document until we do our feasibility studies. So This document is no longer going away, but will be used internally in the department as part of design criteria until we develop the next stage of the plan, which I will be talking about later. So with that, we have currently established almost 60 miles of new class 1 shared use paths and different classes on non-expressway roadways, and the numbers are there. And as you can see, I focused on this section of the county, which is on the north western side, where Foothill and Junipero Serra is found. So what we've identified in that corridor is a class 1 shared use path on all the Foothill Expressway, all the way north of Junipero Serra to the border of the county. But again, when I talk about the feasibility study, I will give you some nuances of what does it mean to have a class 1 shared use path. After all of these exercises, we did a prioritization of the projects, and we divided them into highest, higher, high, medium opportunity projects. But this is not a static prioritization, but it's actually a moving one. So basically, let's say there's a project which is selected as opportunity, and it's at the bottom of the list. We would happily move it towards the top if there are some conditions which are met, such as available funding, or some developer comes by in that area and wants to develop them. So we condition them to provide either a fair share or construct the facility. So it's a moving prioritization. So if something is highest, doesn't mean it's the priority, but it means that if there are some other, we can shift our priorities. So with that, most of the projects, the highest priority project that we have identified were the expressways, and those rose to the top, and that's because of the collision that I'm explained in the high injury network that came out to be from that study. Again, with the pedestrian and one thing that kind of is similar is that when we talk about class 1, it addresses both bicyclists and pedestrians. So that's why the pedestrian and bicycle facilities are redundant, but not in South County. And then we did some generalized cost. Again, this plan, there's something that I want to let you in on is that this plan is what we call the 5,000, 10,000 foot level analysis, and it doesn't go into depth of what happens in the real world. So with that, we cannot pinpoint a specific dollar amount to those projects. So we did a generalized cost, which went by saying the separated the facility, the more costly it's going to be. So that's the cost that you will see here. So this was the status we had when we came by here last time. But after that, as I mentioned, the roadmap, when I talk about it, there was a second, when we published the document to the public, there was an opportunity for the public to comment and provide feedback. One of those was not retiring the bicycle accommodation guideline. With that, we received 200 plus responses, and the public draft was there for 1 month and 2 weeks, and we divided them into these buckets of comments. So basically, the bike and pedestrian infrastructures, connectivity and accessibility, community engagement and planning, maintenance and upkeep, urban greening and environment, e-bikes, which are something that are top of the mind currently because these are emerging mobilities, and some kind of enforcement on our facilities. The way we've addressed the comments is we had that matrix on your right side, and we've divided them into 5 categories where we said comment noted if it is a general comment, or we did some, if it was something we felt like it was important, we changed it in the plan, such as the accommodation by guideline and other, which are through the document. But some are something that we could do in the next step, which is the feasibility. So we say we will address it in the future. So if it is of interest to this commission, I could send out the matrix and you could look at these comments and let me know if that's a desire. And what happens next? So we are in the adoption status within our department, but the next phase of this plan is not that we publish this document and we say there is going to be a class 1 schedule, but that's it. So what we've preemptively started doing is applying for grants, and the reason why we even started this plan is because we didn't have any bicycle or active transportation plan in the first place. So it's a way and mechanism by which we can have and point to a document to get a grant application submitted. So whenever you have a plan and you point to something, the grantors usually they tend to accept those as a justifiable efforts. So with that, we started to apply for a grant, and one of the grants we applied for was a Measure B grant with the Valley Transportation Authority, and we got a grant for Foothill Expressway feasibility study. So what does a feasibility study mean? So we said at the 10,000 foot level, we said there's a class 1, but we don't know if there's the right of way, if there's the engineering that is required, the cost, the alignments, the geometrics. So we want to do something at the 1,000 foot level and kind of draw the maps, draw the lines, and see if that's what we say is feasible. So with that, we kicked off the feasibility study with the different cities, and it's been 3 months now since we started that process. And Art and Stephen are sitting on the TAC, which are guiding the development of the study. And actually, we have a walk audit planned in April to come to cross all the expressway up until to Stamford to see what's going on. So that's the intention of the county to do feasibility study for each of the projects, because this plan doesn't quite address what we want to do extensively. So we go to grants to apply and get the funding. Again, another grant that we were awarded, and maybe it's interest to Chair Banerjee for the BPAC. We applied for the San Tomas corridor and we got that from the MTC. So this document is already serving us well, and that's why we try to be proactive and kind of do the applications before the plan has been adopted. So with that, the next steps is that we will address the continuous community concerns, continuing to engage with the community to refine this document and do the feasibility studies. Until we do that, we will guide our decisions on the based on the bicycle accommodation guideline that was done earlier in 2003. So conclude, as I mentioned, the county initiated the feasibility study. There is ample opportunity for this committee and commission to provide feedback, to spread the word, and to be involved, because we will be having community engagement opportunities such as workshops. We haven't determined where, but there will be some opportunity for you to provide your feedback. Your community can come and join. You'll do us a favor by spreading the word. And the next step would be that we take this plan for adoption to the Board of Supervisors. With that, I can open it to the Q&A.
Chair.
Please.
I'm gonna make a statement. I would have made this statement before Ben started, but I apologize, I arrived late. So this is a countywide item, so I'm participating in this item, and as Ben mentioned, I'm on the VTA BPAC that has the dual charter of serving as the VTA BPAC and the county BPAC, and the VTA board office has told me because this is the county, they have checked, because it's a countywide item, I can. With that said, out of an abundance of caution, I think my questions will be countywide questions. And comments, if I have any, I will also aim to keep things at the countywide level. Yep, thank you.
Anybody want to start? Hey, Steve, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm gonna ask the Los Altos specific question. which is, I mean, it's pretty clear. Thank you for coming and thank you for the overview. And putting it all into context. It's pretty clear that the number 3 priority from this study was Foothill Expressway. That it's high priority and it was number 3 on the list. So given that, it's not clear to me what the next steps are in terms of either funding or having a plan or actually moving forward with addressing Foothill Expressway. And I'm hoping you can talk to that.
Yeah, so the Foothill feasibility study that we kicked off through the Measure B grant application that we received $350,000 from the VTA, and the county put $100,000 towards a selection of a consultant, getting them on board and doing that design work up until a 35% design, which is mostly it's a substantial amount of design, and the geometries will be fleshed out, and the intersections level improvements will be known and fleshed out. And that's what I meant the next step, which is the feasibility study, which we've already started. And Art and Stephen are in the technical advisory committee for that project. And funding wise, it's a funded project. So the funding is there. The consultant has already been selected and started the work. And now we only met twice with the consultant since we started the project. But the outreach plan is under review. So how do we best address the community with announcements and the workshops? So we will be back again to this committee to address what we will be doing with the feasibility study. But the feasibility study, as I mentioned, is the implementation of this plan. It's the next step. Did that answer the question?
Yes, so just in broad brush terms, what do you think the parameters are in terms of when you will be back to actually start that next step? I mean,
So
is it 3 months, 6 months, a year? What are we talking about?
So it's we estimate 15 months. The consultant and the team has a schedule of 15 months starting from now. So we first anticipated it to be 24 months, but now it's 15 months. So with that, the end product would be designed plan sets of 35%, which will be ready to be used to be applying another type of grant for one, finalizing that design up until 100%, and second, to apply for a grant for construction. So it's a step-by-step process. Unfortunately, we don't have the funds to basically go after 100% design. I'm talking about budget internally. Unfortunately, we have to go seek those grants outside in partnerships with.
And then I guess my third question is there anything that the city of Los Altos can do to either assist or expedite that process?
Yeah, one of the things that we mentioned, the soft ones would be the engagement process, and maybe the hard ones again would be if the needs of the community are higher and specific, and those would become outside the budget that we have, that the city kind of help with augmenting the budget and maybe providing some capital improvement plans within their capital improvement projects and addressing those if it is an intersection or or a fair share, or if there's, I don't see there are many developments around here, but if there's some kind of funding mechanism that the city can entertain. That would be the ask, but for now, we haven't identified a hard ask, but this is just thinking out loud.
A question about that then, and thank you again too. You mentioned you're not aware of like specific developments. I guess you might mean like along Foothill Expressway that could become part of like, you know, as in connection with the development, they could support like funding of those portions that impact those developments. Is that kind of what you're,
Yeah, so
yeah,
we do have, for example, we have a land development unit within the infrastructure development. And what we do is, when a development comes along the one expressway,
Mhm.
they apply for an encroachment permit. And by applying for that permit, we do condition some development conditions.
Yeah.
And we ask them to either contribute a fair share or construct the facility at,
awesome. Good to know. Does anybody else have questions for Ben? Yeah, Tony.
I'd like to be very concrete for a second.
Yeah.
For Foothill, it looks like from your graph on page 20 that this is gonna probably end up as class 1 or class 4. That's a shared path somewhere. How do you foresee that happening, given the constraints that exist in the real estate there? For example, the bridge at Loyola Corners.
Yeah, so that's a good question. So when we say a feasibility study, that's what we have the consultant on board to kind of figure out those nuances. Again, that's what I was mentioning, that we don't know exactly what's going to happen when we go to implement this project, because we just did a very high level analysis. And when we go down to the nitty-gritty, we don't have understanding of what's going to happen. So the consultant, based on their experience and knowledge of the facility design, will come up with alternatives. And one of the scope of work that was designed for this project is that the consultant would come with alternatives of design alternatives and propose those to the with the help of the cities and the technical advisory group, dial down onto one alternative and present those to the city, but to the community. But with that, we will be having workshop to ask the community what they want to see, because you've already provided comments on the issues that are already there currently to your either city or in other venues, and we will be collecting those from the VTA, the city, and base our decisions on those and come to you and say, hey, commissioners or community, does this proposal look right to you? But the consultant would be having a design exercise to come up with alternatives. But we don't know exactly what those alternatives are until we design them.
If the consultant comes back and gives you an alternative that isn't class 1 or class 4, do we end up going that direction? I mean,
yeah, so again, that's we at management level at my department, we are open to suggestions. We don't say, since because the plan says class 1, we're not focusing solely on that. So if the recommendation happens to be in conflict with the reality, then we would select the most advantageous and most appropriate alternative that the consultant would come by. But that's a high level decision. The plan for now says class 1, just to the fact that I explained, but let's say the condition doesn't allow for that kind of facility, then we can definitely.
Evan, can you talk a little bit about the grant aspect of this, like where these particular grants the county would go after? Is this, and if those grants aren't achieved, is there money from like a general fund or something that the county puts in, or how the funding ultimately would work?
Yeah, so these grants, there's a page on the planning, on the plan, on the last page, which talks about the different sorts of grants that can be tapped into. there are some state and federal level grants that are out there, which mostly the federal level are very competitive, even the state one are very competitive. And there are some criteria by which projects are selected. And we would proactively try to apply for those and see if we can compete better with other cities. And we have a consultant on board, which has identified our outlook for grant selection and also timelines and amounts, timeframes, and which projects from our capital improvement plans lend better what grant, so that we go after, say, for example, bike belt project, we go, it's a matrix that they provided, we go to the state and say, for example, ATP, the active transportation program. So we apply for that one and see if we can get the construction or the design funds. If we're not successful, then that comes back to our general fund, which is comprised of gas tax. So the balancing act that we kind of need to do there is that the gas tax, it's basically coming from the automatic, and when we do repavement projects or repaving projects, the most we can do with that money, because that money doesn't go as far as we would like it to go. It's what we currently say fall back to the bicycle accommodation guideline, which would be technically accommodating the bicyclists as a status quo, but we cannot stretch the funds to go further than to build a class one or whatever the alternative was identified, because a repaving project is very expensive, and unfortunately we don't have enough money in our general fund, road fund, we call it road fund. So we'll have to do a balancing act, and that's what mainly a high level decision. And so far our executives have been again, when we ask for again for the feasibility study, they put in $100,000 from the road fund to be competitive, in one of the criteria, which is matching funds. So the executives are open to active transportation, but we can't promise that we will build it, because that's a little hard to do at this stage.
So, first of all, thanks for the presentation. It's really good. Glenn, here, I'm sharing this with other people. I don't see any links that would tell people where to go get more information, like the pack and so forth.
Yeah.
So we can share that, or you have a thing, or maybe even included, but is it more than one site, or is it just?
Okay. Yeah, so there's, I didn't include it here because we're about to sunset that website, but there is a website dedicated to the project. But the thing is, when we adopt the document, we wanted to wait a bit because we don't know the outcome yet with the board of supervisors. If that document would be adopted, then on our website, we will have a specific page where we'll upload the document in its entirety and people can go there.
So you're saying that sharing the document, but it sounds like you don't want people to comment on it because you're still in work.
No. So the comment period ended. It was last year around November that was available. So
what do you want us to, what are you looking for if we share this?
So
just informational and that's it, just.
For now, it's information, but I can send the links and you can share the links among your community constituents. And the website is still up there, but I don't know for how long it's going to be there. And the document is also there for review, but that document is not the official one. We want to have the plan be adopted and posted on our official website.
I just, going forward, if we're sharing this, what do you want people to do? Just, I guess, just information.
Yeah, so that's a good question, and I will make sure that once that plan has been adopted, posted on our website, and that's the intention. But for the foothill feasibility study, there will be a website specific for that project that will be going live soon, and I will share that with Art so that we can share it with you. But for this plan, that website was up for about 5 years now, so it's going to be down. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. Thanks.
I had a question that might be almost directed to Art, but maybe for each of you. I think you mentioned that for feasibility study and for the planning, you guys consult with Art and Stephen, or they advise that work. I'm curious about what that looks like. Are you guys obviously looking at, instances where the unincorporated sections touch like Los Altos intersections, specifically probably like Foothill and downtown Los Altos, but I'm sure actually south and central Los Altos too. Is that kind of like the focus of that work, or what does that look like for you guys?
Yeah, so for example, the first step in this process was the work audit. So the consultant, the department, the county department, the different county departments, because this county department is based on public health, parks, and roads department, together with the other city of Palo Alto, Los Altos, Hills, Los Altos, Cupertino, and Stanford, and Midpen, also because there's a park around here.
Yeah.
So we will be doing a work audit in different locations and kind of assess the conditions there. And then we will rely, for example, for Los Altos on Stephen and Art to give us what the community has been saying as it could be a good thing or a bad thing.
Right.
Most likely it's going to be a bad thing because coding is a little bit difficult.
Yeah.
We will collect those feedbacks, and then we have 3 times set up a meeting to meet 3 times. We already met once, so there will be 2 times, but there will be recurring interactions. So basically, that's why we formed the technical advisory group, because they know more about their jurisdiction than that's. I don't know if Art, you want to add.
Yeah, basically, we just started. We had our first meeting to introduce all the stakeholders, and then we are doing the audit in a couple of weeks. There's a couple of sections that we're doing because Los Altos is actually a pretty big section of the Foothill Expressway project. So, but yeah, we again, you have any comments, you have any ideas, send it over to transportation at Los Altos. Email it to me. And then we will pass it on, and we will see what they could incorporate all that stuff.
Yeah, I'd just like to offer a final thought, and I don't know whether this has any impact, but I'd like to just put it out there and see what your thoughts are. When I look at the density changes on Foothill Expressway in terms of mostly pedestrians and cyclists, it's increasing dramatically. And it's increasing because you've got lots more cyclists now that are using Foothill Expressway, primarily for recreation. And they are on different kinds of cycles now, not only high-end road bikes, but also more electrified e-bikes than we've had in the past. At the same time, there are several major schools that require the kids to cross Foothill, both on the south end and on the north end of Los Altos. And there have been lots of incidents and almost incidents that have caused a lot of concern among the community. It's been our local papers, it's been organizations formed to say, how can we make this safer, both for the kids who are going to school and for those cyclists? How much of that actually becomes visible at the county level in terms of when you take a look at how you prioritize getting funding for the projects that are at hand? I don't know. And I don't know whether or not there's a way to crystallize that in such a way that it has higher impact, and it would be great to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so historically, the county has been doing several different approaches on process-wise. We have the pavement rehabilitation, which is project aspect. Then there's the educational portion, and then there's the data gathering, such as, for example, when there are problems on the streets. And then again, we also, the engineers, which is the traffic department, takes, they have a system to collect complaints. They go do their own analysis of dangerous locations and kind of come up with improvements, safety improvements. And one of the documents that they produced, it's called the local safety roads plan, local safety road plan, yeah. So that document identified hotspot just as this one did, but that one more at the engineering level and with the engineering solution associated with those facilities. There is always place and for improvement because it's not only Foothill that's problematic, but if we go down to Capitol or Almaden, there was actually on Mercury News, there was a news today that talked about Almaden Expressway, and then there's Capitol, which are actually more prone to accidents than Foothill, but the way we collect data, unfortunately, is after the fact, but we do it also on a rolling basis. So the engineers are aware of which sections are prone to problems. But unfortunately, due to competing aspects of the funding, we've never have had the chance to address all of them at once and cannot realistically do those. But we can improve on going forward with that local street roads plan. We could identify those projects, and the plan is to go after grants again for those projects. So the best way for us to be knowledgeable of the problems if it is the community that gives us those inputs. So it doesn't have to be directly to the county if you don't know who to reach, because it's hard to know the boundaries, the jurisdictions. It could be through your local transportation planning department, and so that we could receive those and see what we can do about it. But there's always a way to improve things, and we can improve upon, and this is one of the steps that we're taking as part of this.
Kind of what you were looking for, Steve. I'm kind of thinking about some of the same things that you are, if I understand that correctly, around like, is there specific input or feedback that I think people in the community could provide, people on this commission or the city council or the, city staff could provide that might not just be like number of, incidents or collisions or even fatalities, but like near misses or things that a community might be aware of, like a specific geometry that we think is more likely to cause an incident that just might not be reflected in a statistic or something that folks are aware of from the engineering level. Is that kind of some of what you're asking? There might be.
Yeah. It is that. And, when I think of data, I think there's data around collisions and fatalities and serious injuries, and there have been those, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But there's also data around usage patterns and the potential risk that is there today and will be there tomorrow. And I don't know whether that data has been shared widely. And if that were to be gathered by the county, and then used, whether that would justify then a higher level of urgency in terms of moving up that list in order to get funding.
Yeah, that's interesting because as far as I know, I started almost 7 years ago in the county. As prior to that, I don't know how data collection happened, but as far as I know, in my unit, the plan unit, we until we've done this plan, we never went outside to collect actual data and fringe data that will be used to guide our decision making. Because for many reasons, staff changes and everything, for many reasons, we never had the time to kind of do those research. And again, those are where we can improve. And I think it's a good idea for us to proactively start looking at locations and problems that we don't know about. But the first way of doing that is for us to receive the comments from the residents who actually know about that. Because we have 600 miles and our engineers don't know what happens everywhere. But people who live nearby know about what happens. So if they gave us, because there are some folks who do that, where they locate places, name intersections and say, hey, there's nothing there. Yeah, it might take the county a couple of maybe years to fix it, but we will be aware of it. And unfortunately, we're trying to improve on our processes, and one of them are the planning documents. So that's why we're there to kind of analyze what the problems are so that we can propose solutions. But the first line of defense is the community which lives in those locations to give us those data. But collecting data is expensive, and there are many types of data that can be collected, and sometimes too much data doesn't really, give what you desire. It's going to be just, it's not about the number of data, but the quality of data that you collect. And we will try to invest on those, but that's a higher level decision that has to come.
Thanks. All right. Anybody have anything else?
Stacy?
Yeah,
Stacy?
I'm waiting till everybody else.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know, Suresh, I think.
Yeah.
Oh,
we'll-
yeah.
we'll get Suresh.
Don't forget about
Stacy, Stacy will go first. Yeah.
We have our first international.
I know, it's exciting.
Well, Suresh can go first because I'm gonna ask the countywide question.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Suresh, did you wanna?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, just a couple of questions. Maybe I didn't hear properly, but I had a question about the prioritization. Did I hear you say that there were a few areas that were already prioritized or identified as high priority areas to address?
Yeah, so again, I didn't provide a link to the document, which I will, I think your chair found it, but
Yeah.
I will share it with you. There is a table of prioritized projects divided by expressways and non-expressway roadways. And they're hierarchically, they have a hierarchy, and they go from highest, higher, high, medium opportunity projects. But that list, as I mentioned, is a fluid list. So it doesn't mean if it is highest, it's the only project that we do. But let's say there is an opportunity project that is listed at the bottom of the table, and there is some kind of condition that make it available to be constructed sooner, then we will be able to do it that way. But
Understood.
there
So
is a
I
table.
guess,
Yeah.
yeah, so the follow-up I had for that was, so the intention is to complete all the projects on that list, provided there is funding for the projects. Is that how I would read that list?
Yeah, so the one thing that I wanted to give as an information is that we didn't put a time horizon on there because it's not realistic to say we will be completing this within this time frame because we don't know. And that's the only information that's missing from that table, the time horizon on when those can be completed. And that's something that I want to say is that it's not something we did deliberately to say or save the county from funding, but it's something we've done because it's not realistic because of our funding road fund mechanism. So how does it funded? And we don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. So we just left it open to the time, but the intention is there to, as long as we get grants or funds available for us, then we will do the projects.
Okay, and then the second question I had was, so once you start the design process, will the design process will be post walk audit?
Yeah, so the design would be coming after the existing condition analysis, which includes the work audit, and the design phase would be around June timeframe. First, we need to collect the data to inform the alternatives.
Okay, sounds good. And then will there be opportunity for communities to provide feedback on your designs, not specifically the overall plan? I understand the plan is done, but on the specific design at some point, or at least maybe like a 35%, or the next stage. I'm not sure what the next step would be, but would there be opportunity for the community to provide feedback on the designs?
Yeah, so as part of the existing condition information collection aspect, we will have a workshop. We didn't identify it where the location, but there will be a workshop where committee members can come and point or suggest what kind of improvement they want to see. And then we take those feedbacks, incorporate it into the alternatives. And once the alternative has been selected, bring it back to you to see, does this look right to you?
Okay. All right. And then,
yeah.
okay. All right. And then I just, I guess as a comment for the chair to think about, or the staff, if there's an opportunity for 1 or 2 commission members to join the walk audit. And obviously, we don't want to have any violation of Brown Act, but not just something that to think about.
Yeah, to the extent, well, maybe that was directed to you, Ben, but to the extent it's directed to me, yeah, I was thinking the same thing, Suresh, and I was also thinking about Brown Act. I would love, maybe, we could talk about if we want to have one representative from the commission join, if that's an option, if that's available. Yeah, or have, obviously, I think city staff is planning to be there as part of the technical advisory, but yeah, I think I'd be interested in that, and obviously interested in opening it up to folks who are would be around for that as well. But yeah, Ben, do you think that's a possibility, or?
So I'll have to get back
Yeah.
on that too, because I'm not a little bit aware of the nuances there.
Yeah,
So
that's
let me
fine.
get back.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thanks. That's all I had.
Thanks, Suresh. Cool.
Thank you. I have a few questions, Ben, but
Sure.
brief answers are fine. The first one, can you summarize the Roads Commission recent action and feedback on this ATP item?
Yeah, so the Roads Commission anonymously approved the plan, but there were some questions. Again, they were receptive that the county was able to hear the community and make changes, which we did. There were comments collected as part of the public comment process during the approval process, and we took those comments, and one of them, for example, would be sidewalk issues. So those are things that we will be addressing. At that time, we didn't give specific answers there, but we took those comments and we have them for the record, and it's something that we will be looking at those comments in particular. And there was a reception of that plan, but one of the question and something that I touched upon today is what's the reason, what happens if we don't approve this plan? Because nothing is perfect. This plan is not perfect. It misses a lot of things. So the question that came out was, what if we don't approve this plan? What happens? We did this work, okay, but what happens? So one of the things that we mentioned, my deputy director and I, was that this is a way for us to get funding. By adopting this plan and pointing to it, then we could be able to justify our applications. And that's the main driving force to adopt that plan. That's one of the things that kind of helped the commission make that decision.
And just to let everyone know, the VTA BPAC is supposed to hear this item in our April meeting. We were supposed to hear it before the County Roads Commission and make a recommendation to them. But our last meeting was canceled because of the VTA strike.
Yeah.
So we're just doing it out of order. Next, what about reflecting AB 43 and maybe even AB 413 in the plan?
So that was one of the comments that was made by a member in the Roads Commission. And we will look at those. Again, the high level plan doesn't address specific issues, but those would be the kind of comments that we want to hear into the feasibility study. When we go to the feasibility studies, those comments can be incorporated and see what we can do about those.
With respect to the ATP, are these pathways that you have planned all shared use? Or are you gonna separate the users on the pathways? Like one section for this type of user, one section for this type of user?
So we haven't fleshed out the details yet, but when we say class 1 shared use path, we say there's the expressway, then there's shoulder for high-speed able bicyclists, and then there's the shared use path, which contains bicyclists who are not willing and able to go on the shoulders with pedestrians. So the two modes would be using the class 1 shared use path by sharing. So basically, pedestrians and bicyclists will share the class 1. Able and willing bicyclists who want to ride faster will use the shoulder, and then the oros will be using the other.
Yeah, I just had thoughts about, are the pathways shared? What are the widths? How are we separating the users? And the same question that Steve had, which was about how are we handling e-bikes and all the other things on the road. And then the other question I had for these pathways is, how are we planning to handle the conflicts at the intersection?
Yeah, so that's part of the design scope. The scope of work in the design has intersection analysis and design for specific intersections, and there is a specific intersection bike, pedestrian, and also vehicle counts, so that we could inform the design. And we haven't located specific intersections, but most would be informed by the counts, the walk audit, the collision data, and the existing conditions. So will those will tailor down the specific locations that we want to address.
So how do you determine which intersections will get slip lane removal and which don't?
Well, again, the data that we collect, the collisions plus the right of way, plus the existing conditions, plus the counts and historical data such as if an intersection is prone to accidents, and even if it doesn't make sense operationally and for safety reasons, all of those factors together with the engineers at the traffic department, the consultant, the planners, and everybody, and the community's feedback would feed into identifying those specific locations.
And the school routes consideration?
Yeah, so
question mark?
I forgot to answer that. It was brought up earlier. The outreach plan that we are reviewing currently has the school districts as part of the target audience. So we will also be maybe one of the way we this is my thinking out loud, having a workshop at school where parents and committee members can come in together with the principals there, and kind of they know the issues, have that kind of communication, but the schools are definitely in consideration.
Now, when you talked about the expressways, you talked about the lanes, the shoulders, the pathways. Are you considering or will you consider providing a parallel on roadway bike, parallel to the pathway, on roadway bike lane on some of the expressways?
Yeah, so most of the expressway geometrics is not continuous and equally, the right of way is not equally available in all sections. So as part of the feasibility, we will also look at alternative routes which are nearby. When I say alternative routes, it could be a side road that the class one shared use path can go out to, and then maybe merge back to the expressway where there is availability. So parallel routes are something that we'll consider as part of the design. And if there is, and it makes sense that the class one should continue outside the expressway, it's something that we can look into.
And that's the class one, but what about parallel on roadway bike lanes? So you have an expressway, a shoulder.
Yeah.
A bike lane, a pathway,
So that's
or a bike lane in the shoulder, or.
that's a very specific question, and I don't have an answer on how we will address it right now, because that could be something that we could look into in the feasibility.
This is a couple more. Are you planning to eliminate the median shy away to add to the shoulder or the bike lane? Like Caltrans does?
These are specific questions,
Yeah.
and we haven't made those determinations yet, because the traffic folks ultimately, I as a planner can float ideas, receive comments and say, can we do this, can we do that? But the engineers, the roadway engineers are the ones who actually made the determinations. So that's a design determination that has to be made when the time is right. So I can't give you a yes or no answer.
I think my last question. The timeframe to, well, it's gonna cost a lot of money to implement this entire countywide active transportation plan. And that money's not growing on trees or being handed out from the Capitol right now to us. So because it's gonna take a long time to get funding for the plan, when you're doing street resurfacing on the expressways, are you gonna make striping and signing improvements in the interim for improvement for bicycles and pedestrians?
Yeah.
Whatever is appropriate.
Yeah, so that's something that we've been doing. Basically, so for example, Capital Expressway, when we repaired, we did the shoulder. It's something that we do already, because we have the bicycle accommodation guideline that prescribes that. But the thing is, if I may, this we never brought these projects. The way the county, which is something that we need to improve on, is we don't advertise our projects. We don't say, hey, we're doing this section and we're doing this here and this there. It's something that we need to start doing, so that people are aware of what we're doing. But to answer your question, when we do repaving work, as part of, for example, the local streets and roads money from VTA, it's associated with a complete streets checklist, which is a requirement to receive the money. And by complete streets, meaning accommodating all modes of mobility. So we do that. We are required to do that. So when we get that money, we use to do signage and also accommodating bicycles. So, and now that we have this plan and also the aspect that you mentioned, it's a long-term plan and very costly. At least we can do interim work such as the suggestion you made. And I will both say we do it and we will do it and take this as a common to my imagine.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sure.
Yeah, I would second that too. Like, clearly this is important work that's gonna we want to do everything we can to make sure it happens, but hopefully in the interim, between now and when it happens,
Yeah.
we can continue to, be thinking about safety and implementing safety and just, sort of access, work that, the county ordinarily does and have that continue. I'm sure you guys, like you said, are doing that. Okay, great. Maybe just like, restating a few things that I think a lot of folks said, but my points too around, this is really important work. Thank you for doing it. Thank you for developing this plan with, across a lot of different communities and stakeholders. I think it's clear for a lot of the folks here, I don't want to speak for anybody, but it's clear for me at least that, this is important work for Los Altos in particular. We have intersections that, are part of this work that I think need some safety improvements and need some ability to be used safely by different modes of transportation. And I think to Steve's point, we expect to see the amount of activity on these streets, sort of increase. We're expecting, sort of additional development in Los Altos and additional, sort of use patterns like to and from schools, and in and out of our community to happen. So, we definitely want to do everything we can to support this work and make sure that it's able to happen sooner than later and get the funding that it needs. So, I guess, I would ask too, like, as those moments come where we can contribute and be part of it, we'd like to do that. So hopefully at the point at which it's helpful for us to provide inputs after the feasibility study is complete, or as you guys are proceeding on that work, that would be great. And to Suresh's point too, if there is an opportunity for you to get back to us about whether it's possible for maybe a representative from our commission to join the walk audit, that'd be amazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just to conclude, thank you for having me. And this plan has for us a lot of things, and we learned a lot from this plan, which is how this plan actually taught us not only what we need to do in the infrastructure aspect, but how to do it. So how to engage with communities, what the community needs are. So from this plan, not only our facility design will be improved, but our organization as a whole has learned a lot of things that would benefit in changing, that would alleviate some of the continuous problems that have surfaced in the, maybe it could be crashes or potholes, whatever it could be. It taught us a lot of things as an organization on how to do things. So it's not just facility designs that we learn from this process.
Absolutely. And I realized that I got ahead of myself a little bit. Like to make sure there's public comment for folks on the item that folks have an opportunity to speak. Yes. Please.
Okay, thank you, and thanks a lot for the presentation, Ben. We've been asking for some accommodation on Foothill Expressway for 30 years. So I'm very happy that now at least the county is listening. The hard work begins now, the design phase, and that's when the details, the devil is in the details. And that's when you're gonna have to make some serious compromise. I don't know if it's gonna ever get funded, from Stanford all the way down to Cupertino. I'm gonna guess 10 million, 20 million, who knows, right? A lot of money. And you may or may not get that money. So I applaud the ambition, but I also want to point you to two things. One is by the time this gets constructed, if it ever gets there, there's a lot of folks who are involved who are not going to be involved anymore. And folks prior who were involved, who are no longer involved, and future folks who may be involved, who are no longer will be involved. And the reason I say that is a lot of tribal knowledge that gets lost every day. And that's very sad. When you say you want data, great, but tribal knowledge is the true gold in data. And you don't want to lose that, and we are losing it. And so I look at the audience and I want to see two of us here. I'm like, I surely hope you're touching a lot more than just the two of us. So find those folks like Suzanne and Biels and the bike clubs who bike up and down the expressway and can tell you everything about every little detail. Second point. There's a lot of low hanging fruit that we're not even touching yet. Simple thing. If you haven't biked, by the way, or you and engineers, you have not biked on the expressway, grab your bike and go bike, because otherwise I'm not gonna trust anything the engineers will put on paper. You'll find that the low hanging fruit would be, hey, sweep the expressway. Clean the debris, because sometimes you're gonna have to evade the debris, you go on the main road and you endanger yourself. And we had a fatality last year. A friend of mine got hit on the expressway 3 weeks ago. She got serious injuries. So these are the low hanging fruits. I think the comments on the striping is another one. Pavements, we got problems on the pavement in what, I know it's not a bike thing, but it is the shoulder. So that should be, these are the low hanging fruits, and I think that to get credibility from the community, let's make sure we put these on the list. I applaud what I see here, but I look at this as an ambition in maybe 10 years. It's taken us 5 years to get to now. Could be another 10 years or more. So I would love to hear how are you gonna collect the travel knowledge? And second, how are we gonna get to low hanging fruits? Thank you.
Yeah, I could briefly answer. The way we would like collect the tribal knowledge that you just mentioned is for you to, as a community, spread the word for us. The first thing that would be that one. The second would be the city getting involved in collecting that feedback and relaying this to us. And the third one is for the county to be able to come to this kind of venues. And when we get invited, we will be able and happy to come. So that's how we envision collecting the data. So it's a collaboration effort, and it's not just one party, but all of us together. And the low-hanging fruits projects, that's an interesting comment, and I will take it aside and ask. And it got me thinking also is that if we're not going to be building this with all of this money that we don't have, at least address the intersections that are dangerous, maybe kind of do like a cleanup or something. And this is some things that I will propose as part of this knowledge transfer that happened tonight and kind of bring it to my higher ups. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate the comment as well. One other point on the low hanging fruit too, Ben. I suspect, you showed us in your presentation that you guys have collected data on, collisions, fatalities along these roads. And I suspect that you guys have information that shows or could further collect information that shows sort of, some of the circumstances around why those things are happening, not just exactly where they're happening. And there may be an opportunity. Obviously, those are some of the things that are spurring the need to do the larger scale plan. But I suspect that there may be additional low hanging fruit, like he mentioned, that you could glean from the data that you already have. Do you think that's right? Just in the sense of you guys having some understanding of what's driving some of the incidents that you see on these networks.
Yeah, so the one thing that I can comment on is the collision database that we maintain.
Yeah.
It's a collection of information on the type of accident, who was involved, and how and when, and what time of weather pattern it was going on. So that's the database that we have that gives us a broader picture of what's happening. Then there's the on the ground knowledge that happens whenever collision happens, and our engineers are called to answer to those issues, or whenever they do a pavement job, the information they gather on the engineers who design the pavement jobs. So there's a mishmash of information collection, but it hasn't been distilled into one document that says this is the reason and go do this. So that's what we're trying to do. And the data that I showed you, the community database from 2020, 2020, but the feasibility that we're doing now is going to be going back 5 years from now. So there will be recent data. This one might be a little bit outdated, but it's a fact. So we will go into the new data also.
Yes, thank you, appreciate that. Okay, and I think that's great. Thank you so much, Ben, for being here and for taking everybody's comments. Really appreciate it. And thank you as well for, all the work that you're doing. And looking forward to continuing to working with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thank you. Wonderful. Okay, with that, I think we can move on to the consent calendar. And we can go ahead and approve minutes from February's meeting. I think we need to have somebody move
Yeah.
to
And
approve.
we do have to do a roll call because we have somebody, so we can't just all raise our hand. We got to do a roll call.
Oh, yeah, we have to say our name or, yeah.
No, you have.
Yeah,
you call it.
yeah.
Okay.
Because we have
Thanks,
an
Ben.
online person,
Yeah.
you have to take a roll call vote for every item and then
And there's only one consent calendar, so.
everyone that you vote on.
So then,
Someone make a motion to
okay,
approve it or
does anyone want to move?
no?
All right, Tom, yeah,
Second.
Okay.
thank you, Tony.
And then I would just say you need a correction in there
Okay.
between Tom and Tony's name. Look at their names, you'll see.
What did I
I
misspell it or something?
No, I think Tony's last name is next to Tom's
Oh,
last
really?
name and next to his name.
Oh, that's,
So you just, it's not a big,
it's a little.
well,
It's
it's
a
a
typo.
little,
It's a typo,
it's a
okay.
typo, it's.
Gotcha.
I don't wanna say it's not a big thing.
No,
because
I
it's-
would definitely.
Yeah.
It's a typo. Sounds good. And then, to take a roll
Take a
call,
roll call vote.
you wanna do it? Go for it.
Sure, okay, absolutely. Commissioner Banerjee,
Yes,
Commissioner Venkatraman,
Is this a roll call or are you asking to vote on the motion for, what are we doing?
that's a good question. We're just approving the minutes, but,
Approve the minutes.
yeah, but
I
so
was-
is it a
It's a
roll
vote,
call
it's a
or
vote.
it's, okay, and he's eligible to vote, right?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely, okay. So then, Commissioner Venkatraman, do you vote yea or nay on approving the minutes?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Commissioner Lee,
Aye.
Commissioner Cass,
Yes.
Commissioner Pieka. Yes. Commissioner Schneider,
Yes.
thank you. Okay, I think we carried it.
Okay, with that revision that I'm gonna
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for giving me the list.
change. it.
Yeah, permission. Acknowledged, yeah. Okay, discussion items for today. We have one. And I think Art, we had talked about, we're gonna just have this kind of be an ongoing or active discussion agenda item. Going forward, for this year, which is the work plan.
Yeah, and I did print up a calendar, so we kind
Yeah,
of, so we
thank you.
kind of know what's, I updated a little bit.
Yep.
You know, again, we'll keep updating until we have something, but yeah.
Yep. Okay, great, thank you. And maybe if I can just say something really briefly on this, my understanding of this, we can use this item to talk about, at least it's my intention and desire, and I think it reflects the agenda item, that we can use this to just talk about what's sort of coming next on the work plan and discuss that, and sort of items of prioritization, especially obviously in preparation for an upcoming meeting. And so, Art, I know that you have, graciously helped us schedule, a special meeting for.
Yeah, we thought we were gonna have time, we were gonna get the plans ready for
Yep.
this meeting.
Yeah.
We didn't.
Yeah.
I was hoping.
Yep.
But we definitely gotta set up a special meeting to review those plans, so you guys have a chance to look at it,
Yep.
review it, and comment. And the thing is, it's, summer's coming up again, so we're kind of, that's what we need to schedule this special meeting on the 10th, April 10th.
Mhm.
And then hopefully get the final plans on the next regular meeting, which is the 30th, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so the special meeting on April tenth, I only have one question,
Sure.
which is that it would be, and I'm assuming that the same rules apply in terms of having,
Yes, 72 hours, we'll have those plans, it'll be in the
they'll
packet.
be up on the website.
Exactly, it'll be a packet that, it'll be with the agenda.
Great, great.
You'll have time to review. it
Is there
before.
a way to highlight on what's up on the website, the stuff that's changed since the last time we saw it, if anything has changed.
I mean, we haven't seen it yet.
What's that?
We
Chair,
haven't seen the plans yet. The plans are not ready yet.
No, but what we
Yeah.
have seen is we've seen the priority list,
The list,
right?
yeah, that's the same, what the list you saw, what you guys approved is the same list that's gonna be.
Okay.
Did you wanna add
In
something in,
addition to the
Suresh?
list, what-
no, finish that discussion, then I'll ask my question.
Thanks.
Then, in addition to the list, what we can then see is an extract of what you actually are planning to do in the 24-25 in the near term, right?
As of
something
now,
we
whatever that
haven't
list
seen.
that you guys approved for 24-25 is gonna be the list, is the active list. We haven't deleted anything, we haven't removed anything, that's what you're gonna do. If we do remove something because of budget restraint or something like that, then we definitely will let you know if that's gonna be removed, we'll
Okay,
put it
so
on
The,
this.
the only
But right
addition,
So what will we be seeing in addition?
You'll
More
see,
detail.
you'll see the detailed striping, so you can comment on the striping, the plans, so you'll have your chance to look at it, like, maybe we need, you know, some lines striping here, maybe some signage here, you'll get a chance to review that. and, you know.
In advance.
Exactly, before we do the final,
Right.
hopefully we get the final on April 30th, and you guys are all good with that. And then in May, we get, you know, we said, you know, we go for bid for construction for the summer. That's where we're kind of on a tight schedule again. So that's why this year, if you look at the calendar, we definitely, since we have that list of all the streets that you guys approved, in April, we're planning for the 25-26, get bids for design, so we could have plans this fall to look at. So, you know what I mean? So they will be ready for construction early.
maybe we'll have a little bit more breathing room. next year.
Exactly, right
Okay.
now, it's, yeah, we won't have to
Yeah.
schedule a special meeting, you know, just to get it up.
Next year, we only have one April meeting, Art, is what you're telling us. Yeah.
So that's the plan.
Yeah.
I think that's, you know, so if we have that list, which help with the 5-year list, again, you know, it could change here and there, we could add stuff, we can remove it depending on how things go, but at least we have a list that we can look at and,
Right.
go from there.
Thank you. Suresh?
Just a couple of things. One is I think it'll be useful to refer to whatever the number on the item number on the work plan when we are discussing items. So we are not, so we're not confused about it. So I'm guessing Commissioner Katz's questions was specifically to do with item number 4. Correct? And that's what will be discussed at the April 10th meeting.
When you say item number 4, what are you referring to, Suresh? Sorry.
Of our
Our-
14
our-
projects.
Our
14
work
items
plan.
of the
Oh,
project.
yeah,
On the work plan.
He's calling out number 4 as the itemized.
Yeah, I think it'll always be useful for us to refer back to the work plan so we know what we're discussing.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, so that's number 1. So can I clarify from staff that the April 10th meeting is about that particular work plan item?
Yes.
Road
Yes,
maintenance and improvements for public safety, implement 2025 project list.
yes, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, sounds good. And then just a general comment, Chair, it'll be good before we get too far, because we're kind of getting into a more discussion item, it'd be good to have a public comments before we get into the details, so.
Yeah. Or allow the opportunity for public comment
It will.
alongside the comment, yeah, or alongside the item. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Agreed. Yeah, we can think about how best to do that. So the public even, you know, has a sense of what they would be commenting on. I think if you just say work plan for 2025.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I would just say, if you're doing a big item like the ATP, then yeah, you question period, public comment period, discussion period. But I think if you're doing something like this work plan, I think you as chair have flexibility of when you're calling public comment, because the public might want to know exactly, because it
Right.
sounds like we're gonna pick a couple specific things.
Yes, exactly.
They don't have to comment on what we're talking about, they can comment on any of this, but they might wanna hear what we're
Yeah.
saying, so I think the chair
We
on
want-
the work plan item has a lot of discretion on when
Yeah.
they call public comment.
But it's a good note to think about. At what part of the conversation can we present something that's useful for the public to comment on, that's meaningful or material for the public, yeah, so we'll think about that, and I think my sense is, right now, we're more just looking at almost calendaring, you know,
Right.
and we can get into more if we wanna talk about,
Exactly.
if it's useful or helpful for us to talk about specific projects that are part of that list, then that might present an opportunity for us to open it up to the public. Maybe, yeah, okay. Cool.
So I have something to continue on the same topic about the striping and signing.
Sure.
Have I missed it, or has there not been any community meetings on this, and will there be any?
That's what April 10th is for.
Oh, that's a special meeting, that's
Yeah.
not a
Yes.
community meeting.
No, especially,
Okay. So I can't remember exactly what streets you're bringing forward, but I thought that this was a big batch of them, right?
Yes,
the microsurfacing and.
So what happens when we move, are we planning to do mailers to notify people who are within 500 or 1,000 feet of these streets?
They always do, they always notify. them.
Okay. But even when we notify, people take a long time to wake up. And it's not a few days or a few weeks.
Well, again, we've
Sometimes
had
it's
this
not
list.
even a few months.
We've had this list for a couple of our meetings, we've always showed the streets, so whoever's been watching
No.
commission meetings will know their street is added on their streets, and it's out there, so it's on the packets.
I think that's, and I know Art, you may be operating under direction from your management, but that's never worked in this city. That's never worked in this city.
So what we'll do, okay, is.
So hopefully it works this
Yeah,
time.
yeah. But again, you know, it's out there, you know, we always have a packet, you want us to go door to door,
I
basically
think
go to the
what-
streets and.
I think what we
and just spread it-
I think what we do, so there are cases where Jaime has done that. I think, and there are cases where we put sandwich boards on the street corners, there are cases where we've texted people who would be impacted. There are cases where the city's, you know, put noticing in other, what's that thing called that I don't use, it's like next
Town
door,
crier?
no, next door.
yeah.
Yeah, A, and B, I think the community likes to be heard. They like to give us impact,
Right.
input. So we had talked about input session,
Mhm.
then let's show them some plans. So we considered their input,
Mhm.
then let's hear their feedback. Then let's finalize our plans and then let's go implement. And I'm concerned, we've like over there by Hardin and not behind the high school, this is just having people show up after something is done, when their feedback hasn't been heard, or even having them show up when there's a design already and they haven't had the chance to give feedback, they're mad, they show up mad, they're not happy. And then if pavement gets laid and striping gets done and it's in front of their house, that's when they wake up.
So here's a.
And let me finish.
I'm sorry.
And so the thing is, that's costly to the city. And that wastes the time of staff and this commission. Because we're then doing and responding to things with short notice that hasn't had community feedback, then we end up redoing things. And I thought we were gonna start getting this process of getting the community engaged early and getting their feedback early, so then we can just implement and everybody's gonna be happy after we implement versus the other way around.
So here's, excuse me, I don't mean.
I'm finished now, you're not interrupting.
So-
me.
I think there's an opportunity, and it's good that you brought that up. I think the opportunity is that, for example, if the street that I lived in was being resurfaced and the striping was going to be highlighted in a way that it looks now, but refreshed in a way that it's highly visible, I don't need to have a meeting about that. I think everybody's going to be pleased.
You would be surprised.
Well, I'm just giving you my personal opinion, right? I do think, however, if something's gonna change, for example, if a crosswalk design is gonna go from white to yellow, if it's gonna have crossbars and it doesn't have crossbars, and somebody on that street sees it's much more visible in a different kind of way, that I think we know that that has the potential to create a lot of noise and to create huge dissatisfaction. And so I think the opportunity is at the meeting on April 10th for, and Art, that's great that, you know, that you can take this back, is for Steve and Art to say, okay, here are the streets where we're doing standard resurfacing. We're not going to have a community meeting for every street we're going to resurface. That's not realistic. But here are streets where there are going to be some changes made that are noticeable. And on those streets, here's the way we're going to notify the people so that we don't have a lot of noise. Is that reasonable, Art?
Yes. And that's what we're doing on April 10th, is we're bringing you the plans.
And I think
It's
that's
65% plans, it's not
I-
100% plans.
I think the thing is the city, when, I think, I'm not saying, the issue is not when you put the same paint back down, that's not the issue. The issue is when you make changes. And
I think we're
what,
saying the same thing.
however, we're not, because this proposal and this timeline, I've seen this done here in the years I've been on here, and it doesn't work. People want to come and give their input, then they want to see your designs, and they want to give you feedback on your designs, and they want to be part of the process. So when that paint shows up on their street, they're like, oh, they knew it was coming. They had their chance to give their feedback, even if it exactly wasn't what they wanted, they'll be all right. But we're not giving them that opportunity and that chance and sending out a mailer right before a public meeting where they get 2 or 3 minutes to stand at that podium is not, if paint gets laid down, it doesn't address the issues. What was the tribal knowledge? So there's tribal knowledge, and then there's people who live there who really
So
have
I'm
the
not
tribal
sure-
knowledge, and we're
I'm
not
not sure what
collecting
you're
that.
proposing, Stacy.
I'm pointing out to the city that I feel like we are setting not only the city, but the commission up for if we end up with another street where staff has made recommendations to put paint down in a way that doesn't make sense to the users, and we haven't allowed time for opportunity to take their feedback, then they will come and they'll be unhappy.
Can I say something?
Yeah,
And-
with
and-
us or with staff or.
and I think, I know, Scott, you had something as well. I just want to say, as far as I know, this
Oh, I'm sorry.
special meeting on the 10th will be the first time that any of us have seen anything about any of these streets. But I
Yes.
think that's the first time it exists. So I think nothing has been withheld from the public. Nothing exists before now. And so this is probably the first opportunity to have a discussion that can be any kind of informed discussion about what the city even has in mind to do. So I don't think there's been any like sort of lying in wait for the public.
I
I
don't,
just want to mention that. Yeah,
I don't think anybody is saying that there has been.
okay.
I think what I'm saying is this has flashing red signs
Yeah.
of repeating the mistakes of the past, which
So I'm not-
in the way that we get the community feedback.
So what would you like to see? That's where I'm confused.
What I would like to see, and I've been saying it for a couple years, is for those of you, and I think I may have been the only one around at the time, but when we first started adding this safe routes to school striping and signing improvements to the street resurfacing program, Jaime first did Almond and Covington. And I think those came out in the fall before. I remember like September, something like that. There was a big meeting. Where tables were out and maps were on the tables. And community could write on them, they could talk to staff, they could talk to vendor and take that feedback. And then I think for Covington, and actually the feedback wasn't done. Jaime showed up, at that point, there were proposed designs. And then the public was already mad. So what I'm proposing is what I've been saying the last couple of years, we need to start getting this right, which is, and I think you were saying you might have that plan for next year, start earlier.
Exactly.
Because you need to be taking the public, first you need a community meeting that takes the public feedback on the issues with the streets that are identified for striping and signing improvements. We don't propose any design to them. We say, give us your feedback. Thank you, because that's just, even if you have designs in your mind, ideas, like take your feedback. That meeting has to happen like way last year. And then you create designs, and then you can decide if you're bringing your designs to the commission first for feedback or to the public first for feedback in a community meeting, so they're not 2 minutes on the podium, but so they can stand on the map and talk to Art and explain to him why this won't work or why you need this to protect, the dog who's gonna be walked or whatever the issue might be. Then staff needs to come back with updated designs to the commission, and then we need to move them along for approval. Hopefully that is as streamlined as the process can be. This was the process that the city of Sunnyvale used simply for Homestead Road to make a decision on, were they gonna remove, they had Los Altos and Cupertino had full-time bike lanes on Homestead Road. Sunnyvale had part-time bike lanes, so you could, and part-time car parking. So you could park your car on Homestead in Sunnyvale on weekday evenings after a certain time and weekends. And this is the process they use to simply have a conversation with the community about, should we make it a full-time bike lane?
That sounds good.
And then they had their counsel in that process too. So I'm just saying, I'm disappointed we missed the boat again another time in getting this right, and I hope it doesn't create another Hardin or something like that. Because those aren't pleasant for anybody involved, and B, we just get in this repetitive cycle where we can't move on to the next thing.
So I don't disagree, and I think that on April 10th, once we see what's being proposed, we'll have a sense of where there's risk. And as a commission, we can then provide feedback on those areas. And I don't know what else we can
The
do.
public can. The public can. And the public can as well.
How
Provide
many
feedback, yeah.
how many changes are you able to make? When are you taking it? When is it going to bid? When does it go to council for approval? Does it have to?
Yes, no, it has to go to bid, then
Then to
As
council
council.
to approve the bid. So when are you putting it out to bid?
hoping in May, if
Beginning of May?
Yeah.
So
it says on the
do you-
schedule. Right?
So do you
So
have
you get-
enough, oh,
you
does the
get
schedule have time? Oh,
I
that's
could
it.
put it down, so
Oh,
you cut,
okay.
so it's not like it's like,
So
it's not
are
a
you,
secret, it's
so-
all there.
nobody's proposing there's any secret. So so do you have time between the April 10th meeting and the May meeting to incorporate all the feedback you get?
That's what we're hoping for, April
Yeah,
10th, we get all the feedback, and
I-
then hopefully we get back to April 30th, that you're all happy with all the changes.
I think this commission is naive to think that we have all the tribal knowledge right here for all the roads in the city. To
I'm
make
not sa- I don't.
recommendation,
I don't think anybody out there believes that we have that.
Yeah.
I guess what, I don't need to monopolize it. I think you have something. more.
Yeah, my point's been made.
Okay.
I think, so I don't think we have anything to say that, but I'm totally ignorant about what's being proposed until I see it on the 10th. And so I'm gonna just throw out a hypothetical. Let's say there's one street, Springer, I'll make it up because Stephen has talked about that. in the
It's
past.
the number
It
one
is
street.
it is on the list.
That has major changes on it. We may just say, can't do anything on Springer until we have
Yeah.
community meetings, all right?
We can
Let's
take
say
it
there
out
are
of the
seven
list. Exactly.
streets, we may say, hey, maybe we can't do anything on those seven, but I don't know what the magnitude is, so I don't know how I can have that
Yeah.
discussion.
Yes, we're not gonna go through the construction part if this commission doesn't approve it. We're not gonna go through like Hardin, where they showed it one time, and you guys never had a chance to review, it,
Well,
right? And then it was just done in the
I
summer.
can-
That's what I wasn't here for that, but that's what happened.
I can say right now, like, without even, I can say for certain, if we're doing Springer, without seeing these plans, I can say for certain that I'm not comfortable moving that forward without community meetings, like,
Oh, yeah,
no
yeah, yeah.
way, I've been around this block too many times, and that's too important to get that knowledge.
Well,
And the challenge with that then, do you have enough streets on the paving maintenance thing ready to move? I mean, how much have you put out for overbid to say if we're taking Springer off the table, then.
We don't have time to move the other ones from, the next year because.
So now we're screwing up the whole resurfacing project.
You're not screwing it up, you're just moving things over, you're just
Well, you're
postponing,
delaying.
you're postponing one street.
But it's
But
a
it's
major
postponed-
street by an
Exactly.
entire
Maybe,
year.
maybe at least one,
And-
yeah.
Then we have to also ask ourselves, like, what have we accomplished in the last year too? Like,
So you're gonna put out a mailer to everybody on Springer and in surrounding areas so that they at least are
Remember,
notified
this,
that this.
this list was approved in when, December? No, we didn't have December meeting. November?
Remember?
you know
So this list
what?
has always been there.
You know
The
what?
public, we've done it a couple times, we've shown this list a couple meetings.
You know-
Community doesn't look at that.
Nobody looks at that.
So what's the point of having a
You know
PC's
what?
meeting then?
So
No.
it's not on the agenda. I mean, you have to do a lot of work.
It's not on the agenda, we put it as a package.
Most people in the community do not look at these web pages unless they
Yeah.
think there's something there
You
or they
need-
hear about it.
And it's not named, it does not have Springer in the title. You need to put Springer in the title and then you need to tell the impacted people directly. But I think the other advice that I'm gonna give you, Art, and I know you may not be the decision maker, so
I'm
it's
not,
not.
I'm not.
Yeah, I know, so.
I'm just the middleman.
Yeah, yeah.
You give me the information, I pass it along.
Yeah.
So here's my advice.
Exactly. Put it on record, it's on video.
This is my advice. Do not show up with designs for Springer. I'm concerned that the community, once that horse is out of the gate, the community's mad.
So the public is not going to realize that there's anything changing until there's a piece of paper in their mailbox.
Until the paint is on the road in front of them, a piece of paper in the
Well, no,
mailbox.
Tony's talking about the notice, Stacy.
If that's true, Stacy, then there's no point in asking
Yeah,
them
we
anyway.
don't need public input, yeah.
Okay?
It's-
Yeah.
That is so wrong, because
Well,
the
then-
purpose of government is to get people's input. And if you go talk to the residents of this city, they feel very, very strongly that they want to give input. And the city has received complaints years over years over years, the council has as well, that people are not satisfied with getting the things in the mail because they say, A, I didn't get it, I didn't see it, I didn't think it was important, I didn't know. That the time when this commission was successful is when it took Fremont Avenue between Grant and Sunnyvale border. That's when you were a member of the public, Tom.
Yeah.
So this commission was successful. I just remembered that now. This commission was successful on so many fronts with that project. But that project brought people in. And because that project had community meeting, it had an online survey, it had in the online
Well, I think
survey.
Somehow you had to tell
I think
people
they're
that it's gonna change.
Right.
And until you start telling them, then they're not gonna notice.
Yes, but they put sandwich boards
Right,
on the street. They texted all the residents who were nearby. They had the school routes community involved. They did tell people.
Stacy,
Well,
can I just, yeah, I
We're
actually
in
think
violent
like,
agreement with you.
yeah, I think there's a lot of agreement. I think there's a little bit of, yeah. This is a hot topic, but I think.
Well, I feel like
Tony
we
was actually-
lost our tribal knowledge, because
Yeah.
I never used to have to say anything.
Yeah, yeah.
There was enough other
Totally.
people saying what I didn't say.
I think just being a little bit generous to Tony, I think what I heard from him was he was suggesting that we do have an obligation to reach out to the public. And he mentioned mailers, but I don't think that was the only thing that he was talking about. He was saying that we have an opportunity to use different methods, including, I think, probably some of the other methods that you already have a sense are effective to
Exactly.
To reach
Just
out to people,
creating the
yeah.
list and putting it on the webpage does nothing.
Yeah.
Okay? 'Cause
I think
nobody's
that's right.
watching.
I think
But
that's right.
I asked Art and about how we were notifying the community, and the answer was, we're only sending those things in the mail, which residents of the city for years have told the city
yeah.
it doesn't work.
No, I understand. We're just going first and foremost to what Tony had offered, which I think was.
Also, you're saying that you're just kind of the middleman. Is it Steven's son or is it somebody else higher up?
You son, and he has a boss, and
Well, I know he's got a boss,
and
but-
there's a boss, city
Yeah.
manager, they have everything.
Yeah,
There's a
So,
bus, there's a bus, there's a
Yeah.
bus.
And I think all of those folks, you know, were around for the last year, you
They
know.
know, exactly.
And they're aware that we had an unsavory experience with Jardine, that nobody here, nobody in the city.
We're not going back.
And they
Yeah.
were also around for round 2 on Cuesta. Stephen
Yeah.
wasn't,
I was gonna say,
but all the
Cuesta-
others were around
speed
for the
bumps on
second
Cuesta
round on
wasn't-
Cuesta.
I was around.
But again,
Outdoor
because the
request.
transportation team was not, is no longer around for that, so.
Understand, so there's just another comment about,
Second
you know,
round.
instances
one?
where city
With
had to,
Cuesta.
had to go back.
What do we do?
Speed bumps had to be
Speed bump.
rebuilt, basically.
Yeah, and we weren't here before.
No, I understand that, right, but
So they were
but,
done at least 2 or 3 times.
yeah, the point
Redone,
remains
so
that
it
just
was a
like,
lot of money and.
none of us here want to go through that again, is that fair to say? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Very
And
much so.
And I think, but the other side of that token, I think I heard from Stacy, and I agree with you, is that I don't think the answer is just kicking projects to the next year. I don't think that's acceptable, right? Like, I think if that's happening, we gotta understand why that's happening, right? Like, why is that happening? Because none of this is unforeseeable, right? Like, we know that if you're gonna do a complicated project, and we've even talked about this in these meetings about Springer specifically, like, we all know that that specific stretch of road is going to require multiple public meetings, people involved in getting, you know, or like, it's reasonable to expect that it would require that, I guess. So to the extent we're not taking in enough time, I think we should go back and look at why we don't have enough time to do that, right? Like,
Here's
so,
the problem though.
what's that?
Okay, here's the problem. That pavement's gonna continue to deteriorate. If we don't deal with it now, it's just gonna get worse, and that's causing another problem. Okay, so we've got two problems here, and we're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place.
No, we're not.
You can't manufacture time that doesn't exist, and you can't stop the weather from eroding the pavement. What are you gonna do?
Wait a year. Or Springer, you're
That
gonna
erodes the
wait a year.
pavement.
Yeah,
You're gonna wait. a
well, I
year
think
for
that's,
Springer.
you know, you have to, I agree with you, Tony, that that's not nothing, I think taking into account, but I think
So-
Steven and my understanding is you guys understand the nature and the, you know, speed with which pavement erodes and what that means in terms of the budget impact and things like that and safety,
And
right?
Springer does need a lot of work. There's a
Yeah.
lot of talk, there's a lot of.
My bicycle agrees with you.
Exactly.
Totally.
So I think you're right.
But that's not an excuse to do it Jardine again, yes, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when you say, I
Yeah.
like what you said, and what do we do about it?
Yeah.
We have to start filling out this chart.
Yeah.
Because that work for next year needs to get started this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this
And
chart is,
that's what it says right here.
Yeah.
I kind of put some notes on there,
oh, okay.
you know, so we are, because we have that list, we didn't have that list before, now we have the list.
Yeah.
Now we could send it out for, you know.
Yeah.
No, this is for this year's schedule.
But look, there's a FY
There's gonna be
25-26, that's for design, we're gonna send that out for RFP in April.
Yeah, yeah.
You see what I mean? And that's just for design, and then hopefully get the, you know,
And if I could,
the design will get here and hopefully somewhere.
if I could make one more point, it's that I know that, you know, you guys have come in and, you know, create a schedule and create a prioritization with us. And, you know, that alone takes work, right? It takes budgeting, it takes collaboration with city council,
Then you guys got
city
to see the
staff.
list,
We gotta see the list.
we're very
And I-
transparent on the list.
I know that once this list is created, it takes time to develop this design and to work with folks and figure out exactly what you're gonna do and what you guys are gonna bring to the April 10th meeting. I understand that takes time too, so it's not clear to me that like anything, you know, could or should have gone like faster. But what I do think is an issue is planning around, you know, and communicating and building expectations around this work happening between now and, you know, starting in the summer, starting in this summer, because I think what we're hearing is that may not be realistic. So then there's a question around why did we think it was realistic earlier in the year or late last year, right? Like, how did that happen? I don't know. So, I don't know. Definitely want to understand that too. So, yeah. Just thinking about practical next steps for next month's meeting. It sounds like, you know, there's a sense that, you know, there could be more done around just noticing the community members who we're gonna talk about, you know, their sort of stretches of road here that are gonna be part of the project. Stacy, you mentioned that you've seen specific things be more effective than less in past cycles. I don't know between now, March 26th and April 10th, if it's realistic for us to, put a sandwich board or something out. But is there anything, Stacy, that you think is like a realistic outreach that we should consider?
I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's up to city staff.
Yeah.
But all those sandwich boards and all those things, those are all possible. They're possible before
Yeah.
April 10th,
Yeah.
but this is up to staff.
Yeah,
I don't direct the staff.
no,
So
of course.
There's a lot of
I didn't-
possible
yeah.
things between now and April 10th, but
Yeah.
even if you do that between now and April 10th, and you generate a big crowd, then,
And you show a design.
and you
Yeah.
show a design.
I think, what I think is, I don't wanna use the word have to, but I think it makes sense to show the designs at this meeting, but I wonder if there's an opportunity to just be very, very clear with the public that these are not final designs.
They're
So these-
65%.
These are largely, here's how I would characterize it, which I think is realistic. These are reflections of what is in the Complete Streets Master Plan, and the Safe Routes to School that have been prioritized by our city council and this commission for years. Like, so even though we have not put in an item yet, notice your stretch of Springer is gonna be worked on. I think we have given levels of notice and built levels of expectation and community engagement around these streets such that we can just tell the public that, in the upcoming meeting.
I-
Yeah,
Let me just, I'm trying to be realistic here.
Yeah.
Right? If on April 10th, we're gonna be discussing the complete resurfacing plan, which is lots of streets, not just Spring. There isn't gonna be time to spend an hour and a half on the Springer design.
I think that's
And
right.
all the people who are gonna have issues with that are not gonna be at the meeting on April 10th. Right?
Yeah.
They are gonna wanna come back to another meeting just on Springer, not a meeting on the 29, 50 streets, that, whatever the number is that we're gonna do. So if there's a
12 for this year.
major street with issues on it,
And then there's the others too, right?
April
Really?
10th is the
Is that-
first time
is that-
it's gonna get exposed.
We also have the resurface.
The first time it's gonna get exposed.
Mhm.
And what's gonna come out of that meeting is a discussion of potentially a few people who are gonna be online, who are interested in that street because the bail, or we'll go out and it will get a few people's attention, or everybody's. And we could get our commissioner's attention. And then depending upon what the commission does, and we're gonna listen to whatever community input we get, we can then advise the city to then have additional meetings about a potentially challenging issue. I think that's what's gonna happen on April 10th.
Mhm.
Nothing's gonna get cemented on April 10th around challenging issues, I don't think.
No.
No,
Right,
That's
I
my
think-
personal
yeah.
opinion.
Yeah.
Bring it out for comments and review. We're not saying this is 100%, this is what we're gonna go.
So,
It's 65% plan.
so help me understand, so you have 65% plans, but then I thought you're taking them to construction.
No, 65
No, not
plans
right away.
to get and hopefully to bring it back on the 30th to get the final plans. As you see, and if you guys are not happy with the final plans, we go back to drawing board.
And
get
then,
that.
and you bring the final plans back on at the end of the,
30th.
The regular
regular meeting.
on the 30th.
And then what you ideally wanted was approval,
Yeah, yeah.
and then
exactly.
take it out to bid, yeah, it's a very,
So,
I've
Well,
been around this block too
It's a
many
little,
times.
feel a little aggressive.
what we
Yeah.
could do is we
Yeah.
can set up another meeting, if it doesn't go through, we can set up another special meeting on beginning of May, if you guys would like, or a community meeting to look at the final, I don't know.
Scott,
You guys just,
I will have to say, this, looking back at the work plan that we put together, we as a commission approved our timelines and plans for the period at which we were going to review the items in our list, did we not?
yeah,
Like we
we,
had 14 items in our work plan from this year for 2025. And we timelined that out based off of the quarters in which we were going to review the items.
Not that
Starting
I
in November.
remember.
We started, these.
I think the work plan, you mean, I think every time the work plan come, every time the resurfacing come, every time I talked about start early, have community meetings. So I'm gonna keep talking about that.
I'm all for it, and I'm not saying it's incorrect, I'm just saying, we approved our work plan to have timelines, and we approved the timelines as such. So we need to be more judicious and timely as the commission to put this at the end of this year to make sure that we engage community feedback based off of our planned roads, which we had last year and we reviewed as a commission, so
So I'm
So
confused.
that's why I got a couple.
we need to change our motion.
When did the commission do that? Sorry, everybody wants to talk.
No,
I don't ever recall the commission doing that. When did we ever agree to like
With the
jam
work,
this out in April?
with the work plan, it's based
Oh,
off
the
of
la-
timelines.
Oh, I wasn't here at the last meeting.
You were, you don't think you heard the last two, were you?
Yeah.
Yes, see?
Tony,
You just watch the video?
very hard, yeah.
Bert, I would like
Yeah,
to,
sorry, Tony.
I would like to recommend that
Yeah.
you prepare a backup plan,
Okay,
which is just a list of streets that require no modifications for resurfacing.
okay.
Figure out what you can do this year. Doesn't require this.
What do you mean, a list of streets of?
Go through the list.
That list,
Pick
yeah.
off the things that don't require significant redesign.
What do you mean, don't take it
No,
out?
you can do that if you have conflicts,
Yeah.
you can do that stuff.
Let's one thing.
Oh, I would mention, Tony.
What I'm suggesting is that we clearly have streets that are gonna be contentious. I think we should have a backup plan of streets that are not contentious.
So what you're saying is take off the contentious streets. Yeah, okay.
Chair,
The street,
can I-
I don't wanna call them contentious, the
Yeah.
streets that need
Sorry.
community feedback.
Suresh.
Fine,
Well,
same words.
so we've been discussing this list, for the current year for quite a while, and I think we had a subcommittee that went through this list and made some recommendations, and at the end of it all, from what I recall, there was just one street that was identified as possibly having significant school routes to school, safe routes to school treatments applied, and that's Springer. So to Tony, to your request, I think the determination was made that that was the only street that would have implications for safe routes to school, and all the other streets were essentially resurfacing and keeping the striping the same. So I guess my question to staff would be is, we had that list in November or December. Since then, if Springer, if we know that Springer would be an issue in terms of possible changes and community input, we should have had that meeting earlier. I mean, we should have taken the opportunity to have that meeting earlier. Now, I think without having to go into the actual agenda item, I think we're kind of stepping into a little bit detail of that agenda item, and we should not be discussing the details of that yet. But in April 10th, I think this question is going to come up as to, if we know that there was going to be significant changes to Springer, why did we not have those community meetings? And I think we should have that discussion. Now, if staff's determination, and Stephen and Art, if your determination is saying is that no, we're not going to make that significant changes to striping, then I think that's a different discussion. And I think until we see that initial design, we will not know. Now, I'm guessing that none of the other streets will have major changes. If that's the case, then we'll have to discuss those as well. I think the lesson that we are learning from this time is for the next cycle around, we should start to identify, so we have that street. We have that list that we made last year that included the list for this year and the list for the rest of the, that we have sort of said will come for the next year. I think this is the time now for us to identify what the list for next year is and identify which ones will need community inputs, and not in Q3. It'll be too late. I think it'll be Q2 will have to make that list for next year, not this year's project list, but next year. So anyways, that's my general comment about it. But then going back to the current list, we've had a process. I think, we started early, and we got the list in November. And I think the only thing is we should have identified any community input that would be needed a little earlier. I think we still have the opportunity. And I think if we have to rush a few things, we should try to get that done. So hopefully what I'm saying is for for Art and Steve, you know, be prepared for that is if your determination based on what you're planning for Springer is going to be significant, be prepared and start to plan for some of at least one or two of those meetings now before you get to bid. Anyways, that's my comment, and you know, I'm happy to take additional comments about it.
Super helpful, Suresh. If I could say one thing on top of that, I agree, is, and one thing that maybe I didn't conceive of this clearly earlier in the year or late last year was that we actually don't need to have a 65% design if in fact the goal is just to say to the community that this intersection is going to be worked on.
I
Bring
agree.
us your ideas about what you would
I
like to
agree,
see
of
and what
course.
you think is
Of course,
important to see. And I think that is something that I'll keep in mind going forward for sure. I don't think we need to gate that. And so we can be very, very clear about that. And I also agree with you, Suresh, that we continue to have an opportunity to do that in the April
Yeah.
10th meeting. It's just, we'll also be sharing some designs that the cities come up with as well, some partial preliminary designs. Okay, cool. Stacy, you had a comment?
Yeah, sorry, I keep having comments.
Nothing to comment for.
I would just say that Springer should have significant changes, and if
Yeah.
it doesn't, we
Totally.
should hold it.
Yeah.
Because this is our chance, it
Yeah.
doesn't come around till the
agree.
next resurfacing round on Springer.
Yeah.
I think what Tony was saying is right. If we're not gonna get Springer done this year, if there's other streets that don't require much change, if you guys still have time, or that you're not doing striping changes that are planned for next year, if you guys
Bring it
still,
up.
if you have, if it's possible, bring it up so we can get enough in the bid, so we can get some streets resurfaced.
Yeah.
And then we start in May on Springer, May of this year.
Yeah.
And we start with what you said, Wes, which is let's just invite the community
Yeah.
to give us tell them what we're planning to resurface your street and make improvements.
Yeah.
And collect their input.
Yeah.
65% design, I've been around the block, and I'll say Art, and I'm gonna pick on you, and I know we're on video, but nobody's watching.
You know, Art,
Pick on me.
you're the ultimate decision
Yeah,
maker here,
Take it
so,
on me.
yeah.
Go for it.
It's easy to say, Cuesta wasn't me, or that wasn't me, or that wasn't me, but it's Springer is you and Steven now. So
We-
so I know, so
we-
Let's,
we
yeah.
know, trust-
let's all get it
trust-
right. Let's
Trust,
all get it right.
I'll just let you guys know that Springer is #1 on our list that we're kind of concerned about.
Yeah.
So. It's
But
not,
we don't-
it's not one of those things that, oh, we're just gonna restructure it. No, it's actually that Springer is one of the, there's a few, yeah, so trust us. If we have to move it, we will move.
Yeah.
So,
But I don't wanna go in, or at least, and just speak for myself, I personally don't wanna go into the engagement on Springer saying, oh, we'll just move it, like, let's just get it right and get it done.
Yes.
It needs to happen.
Yes,
Yeah.
they can
Yeah.
move it before the April meeting, that's their choice. It's your guys' choice what you wanna do, but I think you've.
or we put it out there and then you guys provide
Yeah,
comments
but
and then
then-
still, you
Let's
could,
let it-
and then you could stop, and then you could move it to another, you don't have to.
But
go
then
through
the
Let's let it come out,
residents
yes.
aren't happy.
Yeah.
You wanna start with a good footing with the residents, cause if you start with here's 65% design, people start unhappy and it's gonna make
Okay.
everybody's job
It-
harder.
It's, Stacy,
Yeah.
we understand that one, yeah, thank you, Tony, yeah.
Engineering rule 1, always have a plan B. Art, what's your plan B?
There's always a plan. There's always a plan B, C, D. Trust me. There's not just one plan.
No, I just was gonna say, no, I think we've beaten this to death.
We get it.
Well, all I would say is the clock is ticking. In 15 days between now and April 10th. We want April 10th to be a meaningful meeting. I think Art needs to go back to Stephen and say, what do we do, #1, to get as much community
Yes.
attendance to the April 10th meeting
I
as we
agree.
can, #1.
Yeah.
#2, let's show this as a preliminary design to the commission and to whoever's attending and get feedback on that. #3, then what are the next steps to get additional meetings on the calendar
Yeah.
if necessary, right, for Springer or whatever else, in such a way that we can move this agenda forward. rather than just push everything off for another year without any knowledge about what's even
Absolutely.
being proposed.
And let's keep
So-
everything on the table. Go ahead,
So
Stacey.
I would say, Steve, I know I've spoke a lot and I'm supposed to stop. I would say, Steve, you're saying these things, I feel like you're saying like these things like they're a summary and not everybody's on board with what you just proposed. And I think the best thing is that you take the feedback of the commission back and then you guys decide what you want to bring and then it's at your risk. Now, this is your baby.
Yes.
And what I propose, Steve, is that they don't bring the 65% designs in April, that in May of this year, they start with a community input session
Too
for
late.
Springer.
I don't agree with
For the
that.
following.
I don't agree with that, Stacey.
It's okay.
No,
I
no,
mean,
no,
it's-
she's saying about the
Yeah.
following year, which
That's,
is,
yeah,
she's saying about May, the following year, like the second list is bring those lists.
No.
bring it-
No, that's not what she's saying. She's saying bag Springer right now. Is that what you're saying?
I'm
Yeah.
No,
saying
the
it's up
following
to
list,
them.
the
Right,
following
Mark.
list, right?
Yeah.
You're talking about the following for next year.
I'm saying it's up to them, but if I, how about this?
Yeah, if you were,
If I was them,
Yeah.
and I'm not.
Yeah.
Nor do I get to direct them.
Yeah.
If I was them, I would not plan to do Springer resurfacing this year.
right, yeah.
If I was them, I would not show a 65% design to the community as my first step. I would start with an input session of the community.
Yeah.
That's what I would do. And I would start that. I don't know if you want to start it this May or June or, when you want to start it, but it's best not to do it in the summer because you want the parents who have kids going to school to be able to attend. And they're harder to get in the summer. So you're kind of left with May or September. So that's why I said May, because sometimes if you take a big street, you start in September. And what are we gonna do in November? We might not have a meeting, December, no meeting, but that's up to your guys' timeline. And then if I was you, I would take Tony's advice. And I would look at your list that you're planning for next year and see if there's any other streets that you weren't planning to do striping changes that could be brought up to this year. If I just don't know what your guys' workload is. That's me, but
Again,
that's what I'm saying.
we have consultants who do the design.
Yeah.
And they got the lists, and the list is what they're working on.
Right.
To change, you're gonna have to do it.
Even a straight resurface, it would be hard to add something from 25, 26
It's,
this
it's,
year.
again, it depends on the
Yeah.
consultant. If the consultant says, yeah, we could do it, if not, we might have to get a change order. So it's not just the
I think,
moving streets around.
so appreciate your position, Stacey, and it's very reasonable. I personally believe we still have an opportunity to help the community that lives along and uses Springer to get that road fixed for this upcoming cycle. And I think we owe it to them to show them the work that the city has done. And they can help us figure out whether that's an appropriate plan or not. And at that point, you can say, back it for 25, 26. And you may be totally prescient and be right that, it's not gonna work.
I've just been around the block too
Yeah,
many
absolutely,
times
absolutely.
at this city
Yeah.
with this very
Totally.
experience.
And I suspect, there's a lot of reason to believe that you're correct about, folks may not like the fact that there's already been design work done. But I don't think that fact justifies not showing them the work and not trying to see if there's a way to do it for this year. That's my view. Other people may disagree.
I'm gonna agree and say we should try to be optimistic and maybe
Absolutely.
they'll like it.
Hey,
They might not even be here.
and that's fine. And I think we
It's
shouldn't,
not fine.
no. I guess your comment is fine. What I'm saying is, we should not proceed if we believe that we haven't developed community input. I agree with you there. But I don't think that means that we shouldn't even show or proceed with, development of that conversation in the April 10th meeting. That's all. Okay, cool. So Steve, to your point, yes, I think that's a suggestion, not a direction to staff around
Advisory group.
getting the word out in between now and this meeting about Springer specifically. And then let's try to get some people into this meeting on the 10th that have a stake in that work. Okay, cool. And with that, I think, is there anything anybody else has on the work plan for 2025?
The only other item, and I don't think we're gonna accomplish it tonight.
Yep.
But we need to get this more populated. So I don't know what the mechanism to do that. I don't know if the chair and the vice chair should work with Art between the meetings and
Yeah.
get some more things on there and then bring it back.
Yep.
Because we're not,
On the calendar, you mean?
yeah, because we're not. Because that's, I think, our way to get stuff done, and that's our way, I think, to get stuff done, like in the timeframe.
Well, we have a work plan subcommittee, don't we?
We do.
And so I think.
So you
what
wanna
we're-
continue with the work plan subcommittee? That's one of the things.
Didn't last meeting you decided to shelve it?
No, they did.
We didn't.
Or is it-
They still, you still have that
I
subcommittee.
didn't know.
Maybe it
it
was
was
the
that.
ad
Yeah, you
hoc.
still have it. So you do still have that subcommittee. You want-
So I guess the question then is, in my mind, is will we get a report from the work plan subcommittee between now and the next or at the next meeting that will do what Stacy is asking, which is to kind of give us a more flesh out.
Yeah, okay.
So
Suresh.
Steve, I hear what you're saying, but I think the work plan is done for this year. We have the work plan. The subcommittee's job was to develop the work plan. And the work plan is done. We presented to the city council, and I think we're done. So I think if there is some specific, I guess what I'm asking is to then come back and ask what else would you like the work plan subcommittee to do? If that's the case, then we can decide as to what specific item. I think what we don't want to go into is then start to go into details of each work plan item, then that's not the work plan subcommittee's job. The work plan subcommittee was to develop the overall plan, not to go into any detail. If that's the case, then it's a separate subcommittee. Anyways, I just wanted to clarify that.
We'd like the work plan subcommittee to start on next year's work plan now.
But I think.
Then that's a separate subcommittee, then that's a different subcommittee.
You guys gotta put
Yeah,
another, you guys gotta put a different subcommittee.
That's a separate subcommittee, A, and B, we typically haven't started that subcommittee. Art has it on our monthly calendar, it's September.
Mhm.
And all the years I've been on the commission, that's usually,
That's what I put a question mark. That's
Yeah.
what you want to start it on.
Yeah.
Okay, you know.
but I do think what my point was is the
calendar.
monthly calendar it's not populated enough. So I think it should be populated more, and the question is, I didn't know the subcommittee was still open. So the question is that something the subcommittee should work on? And I agree with what our chair said, is the subcommittee that isn't gonna discuss all the details, but I do think, or our former chair, I do think that this monthly calendar could be considered as part of
the work plan.
the work plan.
Yeah.
So I think the question is that something that we want the subcommittee to work on?
To the
Or is that
extent-
something we want the chair and the vice chair to work with Art on?
That's what I was kind of thinking too, like if it's chair and vice chair, sorry, Steve, go
So
ahead.
even if it's not the subcommittee, even if it's the commission, right?
Yeah.
I agree with Stacy that the calendar is part of the work plan. And I thought that what we had talked
Mhm.
about is that if the work plan was really gonna have any value, that it would be evergreen, that it's not a document that's locked in, because if that's the case, it's already not accurate because things have slipped and things may be taken off or put on. And so the reality is that even if it's done in pencil, this work plan in effect becomes the foundation for next year's work plan, to the extent that we keep it as a live document.
I want to call on Scott, Scott.
I'm gonna echo what Suresh said regarding the subcommittee's purpose for the work plan. The work plan had 5 goals and 14 tasks.
Right.
Those individual tasks had timelines associated based on quarters, which we all agreed to. Those were spelled out here at a high level. If the commission's request is for Wes and myself or others who want to have the subcommittee to work on a detailed action list with city staff, I think that's what maybe we requested. We can do that. But right now, that's not what this is doing. This is just saying, here's the items in that work plan that we need to do. And if we want to be specific, we need to call to ourselves to be specific on how we want to actually achieve these items.
Yeah, like Stacy, you had a comment.
Is that an accurate statement?
So, yeah.
Didn't we also?
Oh, I think Stacy had comments on, yeah, okay, yeah.
And so if we submit it to them, then we start changing things.
We're not changing anything. All we would do is delineate this and call out actually how we're going to achieve them.
Yeah.
which we haven't done. That's not.
Okay.
One thing I would add, just on top of that is, yeah, I think we did create this calendar as part of the work plan, like a supplement to the work plan, and it has been presented to city council too, I believe was part of our package. Was calendar part of it? Do you remember?
No.
That was.
But we
No,
did,
the
but we did
calendar-
put the calendar together alongside the work plan, right? And I think it's not crazy to me that, you know, I don't know, like, if we think that's well outside the scope of the
And I
subcommittee.
think what you
that's
could
fine.
do is
Yeah,
not set up a subcommittee, you could do
Yeah.
a working pair to work on this.
understood.
So that's kind of like.
Or the
I-
chair and vice chair.
That's what I was
Or the
thinking.
chair-
Chair and vice chair can just talk about it as part of the agenda.
Historically,
Yeah.
the chair, because you still have the monthly
Yes.
meeting. Yeah, so
Yeah.
historically, I think that's a place where it was discussed, but we didn't have this, A, we didn't have this great format, and B, we didn't have it on our agenda. So I agree with what Steve said, that this isn't an evergreen, like it is changing. But I also love how we, like the VTA BPAC, now have it on our agenda every month. So everybody can keep an eye on, are we headed in the right ways? And are
Yes.
we missing something? And then we all each month have a chance to just quickly in 30 seconds say, hey, what about that?
And I think what chair and vice chair will do with Art's input going forward is we'll continue to have, you know, the work plan itself be an agenda item, but we'll also look at what are the top sort of specific work plan items. We'll agendize those, you know, going forward, which we did last year too. And I think frankly, the only reason why we haven't done it this month or prior so far this year is because we didn't have anything to cover for those specific items yet, which we now do. So, yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. Okay, cool. So I think, you know, we have a regular meeting. Chair, Vice Chair. Yeah,
Can I make a recommendation? I think at the next commission meeting, we should think about forming a subcommittee to start working on the future plan, the 2020, the 2026 plan, right?
Okay,
I know, it's up to you guys.
it's fine with me to agendize that.
Yeah, I'm just, it's for, I'm throwing up for discussion. I'm not, it's not a, so it's a good idea because this goes to what I was saying earlier is to get started on next year's list. This is the time that is in Q2 is when we should, because in Q3, we will not have the opportunity to then identify any streets that we may want to go to take the public input for. We should do that the end of this year and Q1 of next year for any public input, which means we should have identified that list going to Q4 of this year. So that's kind of why I'm saying we should restart on that. But kind of tied to that is item number 5, you know, on our work plan, which is identify gaps and priorities with respect to Safe Routes 2 and CSMP items in the past budgets. The idea was for us to review this and to see if there are any gaps and see if those gaps have been filled. And I guess the question is that could be part of the work item for that for the work plan subcommittee. So we're addressing one of the items from this year's work plan and at the same time getting started. If it's not in April, we could even wait for the May meeting to form the subcommittee. Anyways, that's up for discussion.
So I have a question for Suresh. Suresh, are you talking about the work plan or are you talking about getting the resurfacing plan and the CIP plan out and doing that planning? Because
Yeah,
if you're
that's not
talking about, if you're
Yeah,
talking
sorry.
about the resurfacing and go ahead.
I'm talking about, item number 4, the second item on item number 4, which is review and update long-term CIP project. And that is in preparation for next year's work plan.
So I support what Suresh is asking for, but I don't think this is called the work plan.
Okay.
It's the,
Specific annual.
CFI.
Yeah, no, it's not a work plan subcommittee, but it's a subcommittee to address 2 things. One is the review the long-term CIP project and identify projects for next year. And at the same time, look at the gaps in, that we had from the CSMP and the Safe Routes to School, and to see if those gaps will be addressed. So.
Okay, I agree. Let's agendize that for next meeting. And I think if I understand that correctly, I think those are the inputs that we almost build the next year's work plan on top of once we have an understanding
Exactly.
of and a sort of a sense of the timeline for it.
That's right.
Thanks, Suresh. Okay, cool. So yeah, we will do that for, we can definitely do that for, I don't know if we need to or want to do it for the April 10th meeting, but maybe the regular April 30th meeting.
I wouldn't be surprised, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We'll have our hands full for the April meeting for thinking correctly. Okay, cool. That sounds good to me.
Can I
Thank
have, can I ask one more question?
you. Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, this is again to do with the work plan, item number, I just wanted to see what the status, I guess when Chair, you and Vice Chair meet with staff to fill out the calendar, you will kind of go through the work plan to see where and what we can make progress on the rest of the items. Specifically, there's the e-bike ordinance, and then there is the downtown parking and reviewing of the speed limits in downtown. So those are kind of a couple of things we had, and would you be looking into those as well? To see if there's, yeah.
Mr. Rush, I think I found that the e-bike ordinance is going to council on April 22nd.
Okay,
That's, I think that was just, I was just informed that.
Okay.
Did it come back here?
Will it-
One of those meetings I missed?
will
Is
it
there
come
a
here?
reason it hasn't come back here?
No, we have not seen it.
Council.
Didn't we make a
wanted to address
You
it.
guys made a
Yeah,
recommendation,
yeah,
right?
that's
So
fine.
what
Yeah.
areas that was,
That's what we're
Oh,
done.
for the downtown.
Downtown.
Yeah.
You guys made the areas.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about a citywide.
No,
Yeah,
I
okay.
think that's what,
Yeah, downtown.
that's all I know. So
Yeah, we
if
did.
you have any other questions, you, obviously, he's the one who's doing the ordinance.
Yeah, we did it.
Yep. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
And then downtown too. It's a good question, Suresh. Art, do you happen to know if there's anything, any new news about, there was conversation about this being a point of emphasis around downtown safety improvements,
Right.
traffic calming, speed limit mechanism.
Again, the microservicing is part of, there's a couple of streets, Main Street and State Street is part of the microservicing, and that's the restriping also. There's gonna be plans for that, so. that's
Are you gonna bring that on the 10th of April?
April 10th.
Oh, that's part of it. Okay, all right. Cool. Even though those are not on. this
Microservice, it's on this is the mill and
Mill and
overlay,
overlay. It's
and
on
the
microservice.
microservicing, list, that's the other. list.
This one.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay, perfect. Yeah, great. And yes, see, Main Street, State Street, First Street. Okay, great.
University of Monty,
Yep.
I think, we haven't seen, his name, Milverton.
Oh,
Jim
thank you.
Jim Wayne, he hasn't been here, right?
For the first time.
First time,
Wow.
exactly.
Yeah.
So he was just our meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. But okay, so yeah, we'll take that as an item to discuss when we agendize stuff for the next meeting about, how we can weigh in as a commission and help develop that.
I have a question for staff, which is there any update on the whole, e-bike ordinance that was under discussion?
Wait,
Did I just bring that?
Yeah.
April 22nd.
It's gonna go to council and they took our recommendation, commission, and then public came in and gave comment. I think the overwhelming input was in one of the three options they sort of discussed. I think there
That's
was
all I
that-
know.
Yeah.
That
That's
is
my
going
that's
into
my
place.
recollection. Yeah.
And my recollection was that we proposed that no e-bikes on sidewalks in this small portion of downtown.
Yeah. Main,
That's right.
Main and state.
Right,
Yeah,
that was a
yeah.
recommendation.
Right.
Yeah.
The narrower, smaller footprint. I think that's right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
because I thought there was a March date on that, I guess it got pushed to
It got
April.
pushed to April 22nd.
I'm sure Steve will come tell us too.
We used to have a policy on this commission a long time ago. We used to send a representative to someone to city council every single meeting, since everything that happened, and then things that were relevant to us. Then we had to switch because it was hard to find someone to go to every meeting. Then we sent someone to represent our commission when there was an item that we had heard or that's related to us. And I think that's also fallen by the wayside.
Yeah.
So I don't know
Why
if
don't you do that?
we wanna send someone when this e-bike
And
ordinance.
if you do miss it, it's the next day, it's on video. on
Also,
YouTube,
it's streamed
so
live,
you-
so we can watch it
Exactly,
live.
you can
Yeah.
actually stream it live.
But the commission can have a speaker and they can speak on behalf of the commission if they support what the commission recommendation
Yeah, if you want
was.
to.
That's a good suggestion, Stacy.
So, Stacy, to what you're saying there about somebody from the commission representing going to city council, Parks and Rec have laid out in their agenda, people to go to the city council meeting. And they do it a rotating basis, so there's like 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah.
And they rotate through, and it's called out in their agenda.
Yeah, we
great.
used to have that too when I first
Yeah.
joined.
You guys can do
Uh,
it.
See, I don't
One thing-
remember
one thing-
I remember that video when I was on there,
Yeah,
but I saw in the Parks and Rec just last week or.
one thing I'll add on top of that, I think it's relevant, is we have a new liaison to the Complete Streets Commission with the council, Larry Lang. I have got time with Larry this week
Oh, you did?
to meet up.
Awesome.
Well, it's on Friday.
Okay,
Yeah,
awesome.
but looking forward to meeting with Larry, and he's excited to work with us.
Is, that way we have here today?
No, I'm meeting with him because he's gonna be the new liaison to the Complete Streets Commission for the
Right.
city council, and so,
Well, he has been for months,
yeah,
but he hasn't been.
that's right.
So.
Yeah.
Let's just try.
Is there a question for me? Yeah.
Is it like an open meeting or is it just meeting in his office or something like this?
Is
Or
it open meeting?
Yeah.
I'm gonna meet him at Redberry, yeah.
I think, Tom,
Yeah.
I think it's very typical for the chair of the commission to.
You get
meet
one,
with
you get a
our
one meeting
liaison.
per year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because they also do have their open office hours too.
Yeah. No, I mean, I emailed
Like,
Larry.
The chairs,
Yeah,
opportunities.
exactly, yeah. I think
You
this
can
is-
go talk
yeah.
to council members in the.
Yeah, if you
open
guys-
office.
And that, I was also gonna say, there's everyone here, just as everyone in Los Altos is welcome to attend city council meetings. So we can do that. If you guys take an interest in it, go, please. And watch it online. I
And
watched
they're
the
on
most
Zoom.
recent one where they talked about Jardine.
And they
talked
had,
about parking,
and they
right?
had the video the
And
next
that
day.
was
so
extremely
if you guys
informative,
missed it-
so. I think we should all
And that
do
would have been an example of a meeting,
Yeah.
when they were talking about the last couple times where they've talked about Hardin and.
Yeah.
And the signage and everything,
Yeah.
like that would have been a appropriate time for the commission to
Yeah.
have a representative who could speak on behalf of the
You're
commission
100%
to
correct.
represent our,
Yeah.
what we discussed.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would encourage all of us to, consider doing that. And I'm very open to, if we want to designate folks, or I'm happy to go represent us in future meetings, happy to do that. I think that's a great use of our commission. Cool. And also maybe to your point, if folks have anything that they would like the city council to be aware of that we're working on, or get anything from the city council, like I said, I'm meeting with Larry, so tell me, and like Stacy mentioned, if you want to meet with any member of the city council, you're available to do that too, or send an email. So that's how this works.
Just be aware, if you do go speak at a city council meeting, there's rules about it in our member handbook.
Thank you.
So if you're
Yeah,
speaking
good
on
enough.
behalf of the commission, you can say that, but you have to be officially speaking on behalf of
Yeah.
us.
we-
Otherwise, if you
huddle
just go
here.
to speak,
Yeah,
you have to say you're speaking as a member of the public, not as a commissioner.
For transparency's sake.
yeah. And clarity of communication, yeah. That makes perfect sense. Okay, awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Public
Where are we at?
comments?
Public comment. Do we have anybody else who'd like to make public comment?
Were we doing or did we finish on the commission reports?
No, we have not, and we're going to it.
Okay.
Okay, so we've done our discussion items, and I think that concludes our discussion items. Do we have any commissioners' reports that folks would like to raise? What do you guys got?
I do, well, this is, I think, in relation to why you're more linear in person. Well, I'll like call to attention that on May 4th, the formerly known EV Fair is now known as the Living Electric Fair is occurring. Mark and several other people from the community are helping host this in downtown Los Altos. Part of it is socializing, one of the events or booths that will be happening there is socializing the micromobility ways of commuting in Los Altos, from e-bikes to scooters, skateboards, bicycles, and so forth. And with that, part of it is safety and rules, a lot of things we've been talking about on the commission. And Mark's asked me to bring it up to us if we would like to be a part of this event as someone representing the Complete Streets Commission, and simultaneously, I've already brought this up with Art, Stephen as well, around is there content that we would want to bring or share at this event, at the Living Electric Fair. I don't know what
I just
content.
know that PD will be there. They do have a booth, I think. right, Mark? So.
We would potentially, sounds like, be in that booth with them, right, sitting side by side, so I'm happy to volunteer for it. But my concern or question to the commission is, do we have content or material from the commission that we would bring to this event and be able to socialize safety around micromobility, e-scooters and so forth? I don't know of anything, and
No, there used to be some things that the commission had, that were provided, I think, by the county, that the commission shared via the city schools and safe routes, and I think we've had those at tables before, but that was many years ago. I don't know that there's anything left over from those bike month things. I don't think there's anything. I don't know if there's any of the guidelines for, I mean, we have that downtown bike parking map. It's not very much. We don't really have stuff.
Yeah.
I think if there's people who ever want to create stuff, we can also look for third-party stuff and then bring it if it's like official.
Mhm.
You know, like county public, you know, from the county public health, for example, or some proper
Last year,
organization.
we had the bike lights. I gave
Oh,
some
yeah,
to Mark to
that's
pass out during,
Yeah.
biking down,
Yeah.
right, Mark?
So that's fine.
I had some of that, but we
Yeah.
don't have any of those.
I think one of the things that would be useful and just as, not as a major exhibit, but something to have handy, is that if on April 22nd, the council is going to approve something that has to do with traffic safety downtown, specific to bikes, e-bikes, scooters, whatever, it would be great to have that information there.
That's actually a good idea.
Because people will.
That's a
We may have.
Like if the e-bike
Yeah.
ordinance passes, right, maybe that's just something that you could show as an informational thing that people would to hand out.
And it would also be a good idea to hear, we're not like the Parks and Recs or whatever, so like if there's stuff from that the community wants, like
Yeah.
if they tell us exactly what they want, then we might be able to say, yeah, we can do that, or no, we
Right.
can't do, no, we can't do.
Yeah.
I think it was, the bike lights were done by, what's her name? No, Marissa, but
Andrew.
Andriana.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we used to have some people that supported us and
Do that.
stuff like that, and now we don't, but if the community has some very specific requests, that might be possible, or it's certainly easier to consider that. Yeah.
well, with that, so I'm happy to represent us. I don't know if we have something to represent per se, or is being present enough?
I
To
think,
represent the commission.
I think what would be great to have there would be the complete streets master plan, because I don't think most people didn't even know that that exists.
Is that relevant though to the event?
It's also too big.
It's big, yeah, it's big, it's a lot of things.
I think the thing, there's nothing wrong with putting the downtown bike parking.
Yeah.
Map there, because
Yes,
it's the events downtown, like, and then if the council passes this thing, if. I don't wanna create any to-do work for staff, because I'm not allowed to do that, and also because I know they're busy. But
That's what it is.
if it makes sense to quickly put in like a little handout,
Yeah.
like what the new downtown thing is, like maybe it's a map. But like the map, like a map that says these streets, and then 3 rules or 5 rules about those streets. Have the police department put it together, I don't know,
Who's gonna
Make
produce
it for
that,
them.
Stacy?
I just said maybe there's somebody in the police. I don't
Spare
know.
time.
Or if someone on the commission wants to volunteer to draft it, but it has to be approved by the city, if commissioner drafts it.
Again, send me emails, give me suggestions, and see what we can do.
That sounds great. I mean, I think it sounds great for, us to represent at this, and, I don't think we need to, have anything too official, but I think presence is good, listening to people is good, and talking about the e-bike ordinance is good, and if I'm looking at the calendar right, we may have something that we could share with folks about downtown safety, which, and I think some of the stuff we're talking about might include additions to bike parking downtown. So there might be, new news to share there. So there are a few things that we can probably share with folks.
Yeah, my experience sometimes because I've done several of
Yeah.
these tables with city things. And bike month things that the city have done, is if you have a little something on the table and then you stand behind it and you look a little official and people are walking by and you say hello. Sometimes they wanna know who are you and why you're here, and it's a conversation.
Absolutely.
There's very few people that come downtown and they're looking for like a big handout. They're just social, they're
Totally.
doing social things
Yeah.
and the conversation is good. And then it can go anywhere.
Maybe we could even write on the, you know, whatever, you know, sort of kiosk, you know, we have or something or sign to say, you know, Complete Streets Commission too, so people can even see it and say, well, what the heck is that? You know, didn't know we had that. You know, maybe something like that, I don't know.
So who,
You know, easy.
who, I don't need to take up time here, but who would I continue this conversation with so I can have a consensus on things that we want to share as a commission, and also who would I work with from the city level to actually create something that is distributable?
I feel like maybe we can keep it low key.
Yeah.
And then I think, you know, we have a couple meetings between now and then. So we could keep talking at the meeting level, you know, with the commission. Yeah,
Pull out what we want. Okay.
does that work? Yeah,
That works.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay, cool.
Yes, and it's also okay, like I know there were times where I was like the commission representative to bike month planning or something.
Yeah.
You get to be the representative, so
I think
if
if
you wanna
you
go
find
volunteer
yourself-
that, you don't need to come check
Yeah.
everything with us.
If you find
Like,
yourself
just a
engaged in the
stack of
conversation,
fruits, whatever you
just-
hand out.
You know, represent the commission, you know. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, thank you, Scott, for that. Thank you, Mark, for, you know, everything associated with electric living and all that.
Yeah, community, I think, did community comment come in with commission reports? Or is it,
It has not, yeah.
could it was given that Mark's here, or do you want to add anything else to what I just shared, or do you feel like I covered?
I think you covered it great. I think the last thing I'd just say is, you know, that the city's looking for platforms to engage with people in Los Altos, as you've been talking about tonight. And this is one of those opportunities where I'm trying to create a platform for engagement, so.
Yeah.
So use it if you want.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
And that flyer Scott Springer, exactly. Okay. Yeah, not trying to touch a third rail. Okay, all right, then I think, does anyone have anything in addition to what we've already discussed for a future agenda item?
There was nothing worth reporting to this commission from the February
Oh, thank you,
TAB
Stacey.
pack.
Yeah.
And as I said, we didn't have a March meeting, so, but the March meeting was supposed to have the county ATP.
Mhm.
And 2 key Measure B items, so I'll have an update. Hopefully we'll hear those in April, that's the plan.
That's great,
I'll have an update. And
thank you, appreciate it.
And then can I say,
Yeah.
informational
What
one,
do you got?
or potential future?
Yeah.
Since we brought it up a little bit, actually, May Bike Month, we did start the planning, Mark is part of the planning. Tony volunteered, I think I volunteered, Scott, to be part of the planning. I'm sorry, Jim, I'm sorry, Scott, but Tony did, volunteer. We also have, Greentown, and then we also have the city manager's office, Anthony Carnesecca. So he's part of it. So we,
Los Altos Hills.
Los Altos Hills, yes. Thanks, Mark. Los Altos Hills is also part of it again.
Right,
So we did start the planning. Every year, after the last couple of years, they did the proclamation, city council meeting. This year, that's not gonna happen, but we are still gonna do the proclamation. We're gonna have this, and we're thinking about bringing it here. We have, Springer Elementary School students at Greentown, they're talking to, so they have like 4 or 5 kids there. That we could bring them here on April 30th meeting and have them read the proclamation, if that's okay, as a, as a special item, that would be
Okay.
great. And, you know, let them read, and then the mayor will, we'll have a signed proclamation for that, so. I don't know what else you wanna say, if you like, Bike Month, Mark. There's a few events that's happening, right?
The Bike to Wherever Days, we're looking at family or adult led bike rides. There's the Bike and Dine,
Exactly.
which will be on the 16th of May. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So
more to come.
Yeah, exactly. We're still in the planning phase, but yeah, there's definitely more to come. Yeah, that's it for me.
awesome, thanks, Art, and, you know, as, you know, we sort of like get more, I guess, like firm on that, or maybe we're already there, but yeah, like, would be interested to learn more, and,
Oh, yeah,
See
we'll
if we
definitely.
participate. Yeah. awesome, thank you, appreciate it. Okay, awesome, Anything else for anybody? Oh, Scott, what
I
do you
just looked at my calendar and I feel slightly stupid, but unfortunately I will be out of town on May 4th, so I will work with someone as soon as I volunteer to help plan this.
Thanks.
But I will not.
Yeah, figure it out, figure it out.
It's always important, so yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
But I'm happy to champion and work with this and.
Absolutely. Appreciate it. Okay, awesome. I think we're good. Yeah, well, I think we're kind of mixing the last two, but does anyone else have anything else on future agenda items for the meeting, other than what we already covered? Awesome, thank you. I think we're looking good on our 2 April meetings and then going forward. So with that, thanks, everybody. Thank you, Mark, again for being here.
Don't forget Suresh online.
Thank you, Suresh, for beaming in from Bangalore. Really appreciate it. Good to see you. Best of luck in India and looking forward to seeing you in person when you're back.
Thank you all.
And
Thank you.
yeah, absolutely. 8:53 PM.
8:53. All right,
Adjourned.
all right, thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you guys. See you in a couple weeks.
Thanks.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you, Stacy.